just want to hear one 4-letter word out of you, rain.
But you sounded good on SGP. That's the interview this morning was good. I mean, I know you picked it earlier.
Right,
It
yeah.
was well done.
Monsoon 101.
I hope it's coming. Is
That's
it?
what we want.
Is it coming? It acts like a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah. Monsoon pattern's not here, but this time of year, moisture still infiltrates at low levels and gets in here and starts triggering these daily thunderstorms, or mostly dry storms.
Yeah.
Called 0.03 inches so far in July. Enough to fill the bottom of a coffee cup.
Yeah.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, if you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll have Melissa start us off.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, gentlemen, commissioners, we have 2 sets of minutes. We have the June 26th.
Regular meeting.
Can we pass them in one motion?
If they're both going to pass, yes. We can.
They'll both, yeah.
I'll move that the minutes for the proceedings of the Board of Commissioners for Montezuma County for June 26, 2017 and July 3rd, 2017 be approved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the June 26, 2017 Board of Montezuma County Commissioner minutes and the July 3rd, 2017 Montezuma County Board of Commissioners minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, James, go on up.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. At least I can give you a sunny morning. Sunshine. By itself doesn't make the crops grow more than that. Yeah, that's the right one. About a quarter of the 13 month. Yeah, that one. Okay, and here's the dry story for June. All the trace of rain was all recorded. And this continued, a dry spell has lasted since the last measurable rain on May 18th. So we went almost 50 days before it recorded another measurable rainfall this month. All of 0.03 inches in the first week of June. Certainly a lot drier than the previous June. We did a little better then. So, looking at this year, it's certainly been a flip the coin sort of situation. Very wet in January, still wet in February, got dry in March, recovered in April and May, and June lived up to its reputation. It normally is a hot and dry month for us, and we set 2 daily high temperature records for June. In fact, on Thursday we had 102 degrees. That ties our all-time high temperature record. That broke the previous record of 98 degrees set in 1943. And the next day, 99 degrees, that set another daily record. That broke a record dating back over 10 years. So what does it look like in future? Let's take a look at our 30-day. The 30-day, that guy, yeah. Above normal temperatures, 50% chance of above normal temperatures. Precipitation, equal chances above or below. We'd sure like to see a nice green above normal area over us, but they're not promising much. 90-day forecast. Yeah, it's very much the same pattern.
Oh, wow.
Above normal temperatures and precipitation, once again, equal chances. Could make a comment about how the monsoon season operates. This morning, we've got over the southwest, we've got a blocking ridge of high pressure. It's centered right over southeast Utah. And what we need to have happen is for that high pressure ridge to move to the east. We've got clockwise circulation around high pressure. So it moves far enough east, then the return flow and back of it would bring up moisture from all the way from the Gulf of Mexico, imported through Mexico, and then we'd get a monsoon season started. Then we start having probabilities of precipitation like 40%, 60%, 80% chance, 90% chance, and the days are mostly cloudy. The monsoon behaves just like a river. Think of a river that meanders back and forth across its valley, and that is what the monsoon does in the summertime. If the ridge is perfectly positioned to the east of us, it can direct that center of that river right over the four corners. If it moves too far to the east, then the monsoon will go too far east, over eastern New Mexico or West Texas, a couple of 100 miles off, and that doesn't help us. If the ridge moves too far to the west or gets stronger, then it pushes the monsoon all the way over here to Southern California and Southern Nevada. Then you start seeing videos of the streets flooding in Las Vegas and people getting rescued from their cars. So that's we need the ridge to move east and open up that flow pattern here so that we can get moisture both from the Gulf of Mexico and from the Eastern Pacific. And over the next week, the weather service is not very optimistic about that pattern setting up yet. So we are 10 days into a month now, recording 1.03 inches. Over the next week, they're forecasting no more than a 20 to 30% chance of rain each day, or these mostly dry thunderstorms. So it's still.
What does it take to move that high? What does it take to move that high to the east? Something pushing from the west or something? Something coming in from the west?
Something from the west. Sometimes you can get a mid-latitude trough to come in and dig away at that ridge. It gets some unsettled weather then. But it depends on the strength of that ridge. We need all the upper air patterns to start moving eastward and bump that high pressure ridge out from over us. Sometimes too, it's just a matter of how strong that ridge is. If it weakens, then it'll occupy less area and give more of a chance of getting a monsoon river started.
Maybe we need to shut down our water sales for a couple of weeks. Move that high out of here.
Yeah.
What's the average time frame for the monsoon to start?
Monsoon, about the middle of the month, about the middle of July. Yeah, the second or third week of July, we can commonly expect the monsoon to be starting. And it goes in fits and starts. We might have the ridge temporarily weaken, and we get an episode of the monsoon last several days before the high rebuilds itself. So that's what's happening now. The moisture is starting to arrive in fits and starts. We have these almost dry thunderstorms that become just a little bit of rain and nothing. And day by day we get low level moisture that gradually infiltrates into the four corners, and sort of like a farmer sowing seeds to raise a crop. We're sowing rain seeds here to raise a crop of rain day by day. So everybody hang in there. We should get a monsoon eventually by the latter half of the month.
Right.
Okay, we'll keep hoping.
Drought. Colorado's in very good shape. No more than abnormally dry drought. North Dakota and northeast Montana are getting hit. They've got a severe drought there. And it's they're on a severe drought category up there. California got a lot of relief. The southeast finally got a lot of relief. Even that tiny little patch of extreme drought in New England has gone away. So let's get some rain here so we can keep ourselves in a situation of very little drought. Snowpack, you can see in the mountains are fingers of snow in the gullies on the mountainsides. So there was no significant snow to report from the snowtail sites this month. It is July, so definitely out of snow season.
Any additional questions, commissioners? Thank you for the weather report, we appreciate it. Next, we have the combined courthouse report with Monty Giles.
Morning, Money.
I see.
Monty?
How do you?
Or mine.
Yes, sir.
Man. Yeah, I got it. Oh, well, this is the last thing.
Quit on it.
We might have to buy some more bags.
All right, we're ready now. So last week's owners meeting was pretty typical, not a heck of a lot. We're just continuing to close the project and bring it in to get ready for punch list items and checking different mechanical systems and just kind of moving right along. There's floor down, there's 75% roughly asphalt at this point. The only side yet to be asphalted is over, and they're doing the site work now, is where the garbage containers are on that far kind of west side of the facility. Still some curb and sidewalk stuff to do from the employee entrance coming around to the front, and some odd pieces like that. The one thing that we ended up getting from Sam Proctor in the city was, I don't know if you guys recall us visiting about the whole sign issue, but they wanted to have some input in the signs, and given that request came fairly late in the whole process, signs have been ordered for everything, and we could not stop the presses as far as interior signs without it having some monetary damage, and then also perhaps even losing your spot in the production line.
That's room number signs.
Right, room number signs, all the interior designations. So after several meetings with Sam and the sheriff and fire department and the chief, we decided to let the signs be on the inside, but they did request that exterior doors be identified, number one being the main entrance, and then going clockwise around the building so that emergency access could say, come into room number 7, or bring the ambulance around to room 4, door 4. So that was something that we decided we can probably do, and we're just talking about getting a sign, some type of vinyl type sign that illustrates door numbers so that they're easily.
These are on the exterior for them to identify
where to come in. Yep,
Okay.
That's right. And then there was some talk from Sam and some of the emergency response of little pennant signs in front of the hallways, and this here and here, such that emergency response could turn here and look and see that this hallway contains room 204 through 212, and then they could look and see that this hallway. Now that's something that we're discussing because it would be kind of an odd sign, because none of these numbers are sequential all the way around. So it'd be room 201 through 25 and 212 and 215. So that's something that we're still bantering around. But for the most part, the sum of all of those meetings the week before the 4th week was that we put exterior signage up so that they can identify door numbers.
So the complication with that has to do with Eric and how they ordered AV equipment and mechanical equipment tied to those room numbers, also the furniture and all that kind of stuff. Multiple systems were based on the plans that were originally there. So when you flip this switch, the air conditioner comes on in this particular room. So you can't really,
Oh yeah, a lot. Most of the cabling's in place, and all that cabling schematic is developed around room numbers. So
And the room numbers that were laid out in the
the
original
drawings.
plan.
And those are the original room numbers that have been around since, the D&D set of drawings. So it's okay.
So I
It
think
worked
they-
out all right.
They understood that there's too much height to what we already have.
It's different than just changing the number on a room. There's a lot more
Right.
affected by that than.
And I think at the end of the day, Sam and I talked, and what he found to be logical is not what I would find to be logical, or Commissioner Suthler or anyone else. Anyone that looks at it and says, well, let's number these logically, I mean, it would be different every time because it's subjective. It'd be different if it was a square and all the offices were around, but this thing's got offices in the middle and down hallways, and so, anyway.
But it got worked out.
Got worked out. I think Sam's fine. I think at some point we're going to post some mock-up numbers on the doors and then ask the emergency services to come and see if they are sufficient for their needs. So I think that Humphreys was going to work up or maybe Jane. Somebody was going to get 1 through 8 or 9, post them on the doors, and then we'll call the sheriff and we'll call Sam and say, is this going to be sufficient for your needs?
I think the other thing that we're going to do too is give a complete schematic to the dispatch center. The sheriff's office will certainly have one, so that if a call comes in, the dispatch center would be able to guide them through. And they say, well, we need room number 608. Go to your left, go to your right, da 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 da.
Right. So, and I think they just wanted to feel as though also they were included in the process, and rightfully so. And I believe that we had 3 meetings that week before the 4th and discussed it any number of times, so it'd be okay. Other than that, floors going in, cabinets going in, courthouses, the courtrooms themselves, most of the trim work is at least in, whether or not it's installed. And there's 2 courtrooms where most of the trim work is installed. And then there's 2 that they're starting to do layout and work. And then as you walk through the restrooms, you can see tile work, floor work, and it's coming together very rapidly. So it'll
What did you think, James, when you went
I
through?
was very impressed. It's an impressive building, and it's a functional building, I think.
Commissioner Lambert came out for a tour on Thursday, and we walked through, and it's amazing to see. I mean, there's been some very good subcontractors out there. Miller Bonded. It's not me, I hope. No. The mechanical systems, if you look at them, they're all plumb and level, and everything is. There's been some very good subs. And it is right. James is right. It's an impressive facility. When you walk in there and you got those 22-foot, hallway ceilings, and it just looks nice. Looks nice.
Did Yellow Jacket Solar ever come out there and get a bid?
No, that fella has been on vacation for
Oh,
a couple of weeks now, and the message has been left to him to come and take a look, but he's been unresponsive to this point. So I'll get an update on that from Jeremiah. But I know that he has attempted to reach out to him on numerous occasions. What was it, Commissioner Lambert?
I was just going to say that if you're depressed, walk into that front door. It's going to be the way that hallway is lit up from the windows. It brightens your day right there.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of them are still covered, so you're not even really getting a full effect of what's going to happen. But it is lit up, and all windows, because they have no lights going on it at this point. So the way those angled windows come in at the top, and then the storefront windows, man, it lights it up like a football field. It does. It's pretty neat. That's about all I got. It's just onward and downward.
Onward and upward, yeah. Onward to the finish line.
anything else, commissioners?
I don't have anything.
And we're working on the addendum to Bonnie's contract.
Yeah, do you guys want to talk about that later, or right now, or we can do it later in executive session if you want to, or we can talk about it right now. I mean, what I sent you is, if you want, I can just add that to it.
Okay. I'm good either way.
I am too. I didn't get it because my tablet went haywire this week.
Oh, it did?
I haven't had it all week, so I don't know what been sent?
I sent it on Wednesday of last week, and I can maybe print it out for you or just resend it, whatever's more helpful for you.
Well,
Basically this one.
I assume I'm gonna get that tablet sometime today, so.
Okay.
I should have it.
Was Jim have it or something? Why don't we just plan on doing it then later?
Okay.
So give Commissioner Lambert a chance.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you, Mom.
Yes, sir. All right, at this time we have public comment. If anybody would like to comment to the commissioners, if you come up to the podium and state your name and address.
Ellen Foster, 25314 County Road T, Dolores. I would like to talk about fossil water again. I have to take exception to the road supervisor's characterization of the issues that arose from the annual inspection of the fossil water project at Reams facility. He has said that it was never quality as much as it was a clerical issue. So I can see how you might say that changing the warning label on the product from saying that it contains sodium and radium at levels much greater than found in commercial road stabilizers and dust suppressants to at levels that may be greater than, how that might be considered a clerical issue. But it's the other two issues of noncompliance for this pilot project that are much more serious, as stated in the May 25, 2017 letter from CDPHE, Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. 1. Reams failed to comply with the sampling and analysis plan by not submitting an annual report summarizing the testing done on their product. And 2. Reams also failed to submit a revised beneficial use plan for review and approval by CDPHE. Reams gave the road department documentation dated March 23, 2015, when they first started to purchase it, that approved the beneficial use of produced water. CDPHE revoked that approval on March 7, 2016. And then on March 21, 2016, CDPHE issued a conditional approval of a sampling and analysis plan that required Reams to revise and resubmit a beneficial use plan for reapproval and to provide their customers with written notification that fossil water contained sodium and radium at levels much greater than found in commercial products. So Reams apparently failed to notify the road department of the revocation and continued to sell them fossil water under the guise of a revoked approval. Then on April 6, 2017, a year later, David Snap from CDPHE called the road department to ask if Reams had provided the new label and the revised beneficial use plan. They had not. So right at that moment, in my mind, the road department should have suspected that Reams was out of compliance and confirmed that with CDPHE. And from what I can tell, instead they relied upon a verbal statement from Reams that everything was okay. And they continued to purchase fossil water from Reams in the amount of $75,771.36 for the month of May 2017. This is not a minor oversight or a clerical issue. It most certainly calls into question the quality of their product and the integrity of their operation. A phone call from Reams cannot be relied upon to satisfy the county that this issue has been resolved. And I would ask the county commissioners to give their assurance today that there will be no further purchases of fossil water until the county has received a signed document from CDPHE with a date after June 19th, 2017, approving this product. And in the interest of clarity and transparency, the road supervisor should refer to it as fossil water and not use the so-called general term mag chloride. Fossil water is only 4% magnesium chloride. The other 41% is calcium chloride and 43% sodium chloride. So I don't think 4% earns it the right to be called mag chloride. So, can you give an assurance today that there will be no more purchases until CDPHE issues its new approval?
Where are we at right now? Have we stopped purchasing it?
Yeah, we stopped on the 19th, like I told her.
Right.
Nothing's changed.
Is that good enough for you?
I would like to hear someone say that there will be no more purchases. I understand that you're not
No,
purchasing
there
it
will
now.
be- there will be no more
There will be
purchases.
no more purchases
Until
until the
CDPHE approves
new
it.
approval is in writing, signed by all the proper agencies, and in your hands. Not just a little phone call from from Reams that says, oh, everything is okay now.
I mean that's up to you all. I think if Rob follows whatever he needs to do and waits for CDPHE to approve it, it's good enough for me, but maybe not good enough for you all or for Ms. Foster. And I wasn't referring to a phone call from Reams. I mean, we want not Reams to approve it, but CDPHE to approve it.
Well, the testing, you said there was one testing document that had not been fulfilled.
The beneficial use plan.
Yeah, the beneficial use plan.
That's the basis of this whole project.
Okay. And how do they determine beneficial use? Does it state in there how they determine beneficial use?
Well,
Beneficial
it's-
use to me might mean something totally different from beneficial use.
Whatever their legal standard is.
Yeah, I just don't know what that is. I mean, I don't know what that entails, what
Perhaps it has
CDP.
to do with chemical makeup or,
I don't know.
and then
I'd be
whether that's
guessing.
beneficial for roads and some types of roads as over others, like Rob's discovered.
Mhm. I don't know either.
I think what Ellen is asking for is a directive from the commissioners, not the attorney, not the road department, but from the commissioners to direct the road department not to buy any more fossil water until all is clear.
I just want it on the record.
Yeah.
That's all. I don't want it to slip through the cracks and here in a couple of weeks or a month or whatever, the road department talks to Reams on the phone and Reams says, oh yeah, we got that all straightened out, and then they go right back to buying it again.
I guess I'm of the opinion that Rob's been here for 3 years now and he's never steered us wrong, and I don't know why I would question him steering us wrong at this point. He said he's not buying it until he gets their proper documents, and me personally as commissioner, that's good enough for me.
That's what he gets hired for, so.
All right.
Anybody else, public comment? Oh, that looks like a long page right there.
Could be. Gail Park, 7672 County Road, CC, Pleasant View. 2 weeks ago, I guess it was June 26th, there had been on the agenda a high-impact and special use permit for Kinder Morgan to drill a CO2 well on the Bessie White land. That has been postponed until, I'm not sure, maybe next week. And I had said at the time, well, the
Kinder Morgan has already done the dirt work for installing the pipeline, at least partway to that. Well, the very next day, the 27th, they put the pipeline in the ground and covered it up. And there's one little place that they haven't covered up yet, but the pipeline is in the ground, but the permit has not been issued. So I just want to tell you that looks to me like they're in violation of the land use code. Now, we did discuss just exactly how much they can do without being in violation. And John Baxter had said something about, well, perhaps at the time of hookup, but I don't know just how we can even tell whether it's hooked up or not, because on one end it's in the building, which I'm not sure we'd have access to if they didn't want to let us in to see if it were hooked up. Any inspector, if we had an inspector. And the other end is going to be underground, so it's hard to tell if that's hooked up or not. But the pipeline's in and no permit, and I just wanted to let you know that.
All right, thank you, Gary.
Greg Kemp Road, 35 in Mancos. Empire Electric, on behalf of Makeda, the Economic Development Association, sent out a questionnaire to its customers in Montezuma County regarding internet needs in April. There were about 1,700 responses returned. Nearly 80% of respondents have some level of internet service in their home, and more than half of these people were dissatisfied with their internet speed and reliability. And if faster internet service would become available, more than 80% of respondents would be interested in acquiring it. More than half of the respondents are over age 50, and more than 25% of homes in the county have home-based businesses. Recognizing that private enterprise alone will not provide reliable high-speed internet service to rural areas, nearly 60% of respondents would support a sales tax to finance a public-private effort to make high-speed internet service available in Montezuma County. And the FCC defines high-speed internet service as 25 megabits per second or more. There's broad recognition that reliable high-speed internet service in this area is becoming an essential utility, just as electricity and telephone service were 60 to 80 years ago. Not only will it enhance property values, but it will add to residents' quality of life in many ways. Without it, even minimal economic development is nearly impossible in rural areas, according to a recent article from the Wall Street Journal that you were given about 3 weeks ago. Just wanted you to know that Makeda is preparing a far more detailed report on this survey that will be available to the public very soon, but confirming that there is broad public support for the county and a partnership to move forward with high-speed internet. This is just a very preliminary view of that, and I can give you copies if you want. Okay, thank you.
Greg, there was a meeting last week, and I don't know if commissioners, I wasn't there too, where they'll, on their commissioners report, if they want to address it now, but about internet and about a private company. I don't know if you want to address it now, or if you want to wait.
I don't think there's a lot to address necessarily right now, but that whole process is moving forward, and we had a Connect Forum meeting last week, and there's some very, very bright spots on our horizon with that very project and those surveys, and so we're in the midst of talking about that as of we'll have another meeting next week. So.
Good. We have a Makeda meeting tomorrow too, so hopefully we'll have
It's
more
on the
information
agenda
with
for
that.
today, too.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it later.
Oh,
Okay.
10:45 or something. It's on. our
Yes,
agenda.
that's why I saw it on the agenda, and that's why I wanted to present this information, if you didn't have it already, prior to that discussion. Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else?
MB McAfee, 22277 County Road 20 in Lewis. Just some procedural things. It strikes me that sometimes commissioners can be directive. While you have a lot of trust in Rob, I don't distrust Rob at all. No, I don't. but sometimes when something comes up, like the fossil water issue, and citizens have talked about it, then it strikes me, I mean, just seems to me, this is a time for you all to be directive and say to Rob, attend to the proper channels, and it comes from you as leaders. That's what leaders do. I think sometimes you're directive. And the bottom line is that you hired Rob, he's doing a good job, and you trust him. But you can be more mindful in how you guide things, I think, sometimes. My other comment is about Kinder Morgan and the pipeline. And if they are not in compliance with the permit, which it seems to me, and I think there are probably ways to read the land use code and what they've done and not knowing if they've hooked up or not hooked up, the things that Gayla mentioned. If they are not in compliance, isn't there a fine? Isn't there something that causes them to attend and pay attention to our county's rules and regulations? We need them. I don't deny that at all. And we need them sometimes quickly. I mean, we'd like to move it along if we can. But we have rules and regulations, so they just run roughshod over the county's rules and regulations. That doesn't strike me as, again, being leaders. It strikes me that you're just letting this happen, sort of willy-nilly. And for folks that live out at Pleasant View, it feels like an industrial zone. While, you know, for a lot of people, of course, it doesn't, because it's wide open acre spaces and so forth. But on the other hand, it does feel sort of industrialized out there. So it seems as leaders, again, you would try to put your foot down and say, wait, okay, you violated this land use code, and now we have some penalties. I think there are some penalties. So I'm asking you to step up as leaders and be decisive in some of the things that go on in our county. Thank you.
I'll just address that. I have a different perspective of what a leader is. I think that a leader is somebody that picks people for a job, to do a job. And I think we could go around and tell all 26 departments what to do every day, but that's not what a good leader is. A good leader is to pick the right people for that department head. And that, in my opinion, is a true leader. Not somebody that just goes around and gets in everybody's business and tells them what to do all the time.
I wasn't asking you to do that. I was asking you to be responsive to public comment. I'll be quiet.
Yeah, I'd like to see where the violations, I'm not sure. I understand that there's a land use code violation by Kinder Morgan digging a trench and putting pipe in the ground not connected to anything other than their compressor station in anticipation possibly of a well site being done. But I don't think we have a land use issue here. They can bury, as long as they've got an easement and a right-of-way, they can put pipe in the ground. There's nothing that stops them from doing that. In anticipation of a well that may come into being at they're doing preliminary work within their rights in a pipeline easement or a right-of-way. They're not violating anybody. They're not violating land use or anything. I think you're getting the cart before the horse here. Kinder Morgan is trying to anticipate what that permitting will entail when they get a well permit granted or not granted. If it's not granted, then maybe they've wasted their time and they'll pull some pipe back out of the ground. But as long as they're in a right-of-way and an easement for their pipelines, they have every right to go out and trench it and put the pipe in the ground. They're not hooked to anything but their own building. Is that right, Gayla?
That's, yes. As far as I
Okay,
know.
so they're building a pipeline in anticipation of a well site.
That pipeline only goes to a well site that's already there.
Oh, it's the one that's already in existence.
Right. It stops right there.
Well, then,
I asked planning to get me more information on it,
Okay.
just because of Ms. Pock's concerns. They may be valid, and so I asked planning to just try to get more information for me, just to see. I mean, there are things we can do if they are in violation, but first we got to figure out if
Yes.
in fact they're in violation or not.
It's just that we've issued permits for pipelines in the past, and if they don't need a permit, why have we issued permits in the past? I mean, it just doesn't add up.
Maybe the permit's already been issued for this pipeline.
No, it was on the agenda for the 26th, but
That's the well
delay,
site. That's
well,
that.
and the pipeline.
That pipeline to that, what we're talking about on the 26th does not exist at this point.
It's true that the well has not been drilled. It's planned to be drilled next year. The pipeline has not gone to where that new well is going to be. It has only gone to that old well that was drilled in the 80s. That's as far as it's gone so far. And I see no indication that they intend to take it any further. But there's not been a permit for that pipeline, and yet I have seen permits issued for pipelines in the past. And so I'm saying, well, why did we do it in the past if we didn't need to? And if we needed to in the past, what's changed if we don't know?
Well, it was a lively discussion, and I guess we're going to have to go over. Thank you, Gerald. We'll have a road supervisor.
And thank you for listening.
Good morning, Rob.
Bye, Rob.
Melissa?
Hello.
You following? Dang. Time changed.
Just a note on the pipeline, I don't know about her job, but I know that they did come in and get a permit to cross the road, because we allowed them to do that, and they did everything by the book. So if that means that they entered our easements, or our right of ways.
Right.
They're very good about doing that, and they did come with that, so we're coming up on something. There's some pictures that I want to show while everybody's here this morning on this equipment for the landscape I did. We don't have to do this. I'm not asking you. I just thought nobody knows what we're talking about, so I took some pictures.
I'm working. I'm trying.
Okay, there's the one that the Donahue family owns. Now, they took the steel wheels off of that.
What is this?
It's a blade. They took the old steel wheels off, put rubber tires on it, but they pulled this up and down the camel for years. And how Hunk Donahue got it is beyond me, and the boys don't know either.
It showed up on his plate.
Maybe we don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, they would love to donate that at some point, somewhere, and maybe put a plaque on it. So there's one of them that was thought about because of the history on it.
I'm getting that one.
This is an old mixer that MPI owned. I don't know if we own it or they still own it, but it's been set up at the armory for years and years. It was actually used to probably line ditches at one time. They use it in southern Arizona a lot. There's some really good historical pictures if you're ever interested in the Gila River or Pima tribal work that they do down there with the irrigation canals from the old days. A lot of them were done with these kind of things. Yeah. Pulled with horses or mules, pulled along the ditch. They mix it as they go and pour it along and slip through the ditches. Right. So there was another one that was on the table to remove and get put somewhere. This isn't all that old, but it looks old. But it is used. You don't see it much anymore. But Atkinson, the company that built the dam, I worked with them for many years, and they use them a lot in freeways of LA. And they were called, I think they called them jitterbugs, if I remember right. But they were used to clean up and haul stuff around on forms and materials and old concrete jobs and things like that. It's old. It's not like ancient, but it is old. You know.
Not in use anymore.
Not in use anymore, and we certainly won't use it at the road tomorrow. We have 10-yard mixers now. You know?
Yeah.
And this is an old blade that the county owns. I don't know who gave it to the county, where it came from, anything. Even the guys don't really remember. It's just been around forever. But it's another probably an old tractor, maybe horses at one time probably pulled it. It was for blading roads, you know, and leveling ground. So has a little swivel and a blade, and the steering wheel, all the guy stands on the back and hangs it around. So these are the 4 that I had, and I just didn't have pictures last time we talked, so I thought, well,
Those all have potential.
there it is.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. It's just there to have it. So, there you go.
Yes.
So Alyssa's gonna forward those pictures to me, and I'm gonna give them to the architect. And then if the architect says he can work them into it, then it'll present it to you gentlemen to decide, yes, we'd like to work those in, or no, we wouldn't. So when I get those, I'll forward them on to this folder.
Okay, very good.
If you suffer budget cuts, you don't have to go back to that old.
Don't go there. We have
Never say never.
Good backup plan.
A little grease and a little of that, and we'll have them back in operation.
Well, actually, all you gotta do is put rubber tires on it. Honestly, yeah. Everybody get scheduled?
Yes.
Okay. Well, on the schedule. It's been a couple of weeks since we visited, but Road 23, we prepped some ditches, pulled some gravel. That Cortez group went up there last week. This is the road going up north from there, going up right there. That's our big push in the Lewis around the district right now, is to get to Road 23 and 22 kind of shaped up. They were a mighty disaster this winter, so in between our chip sealing and our other activities, we're kind of just focusing on those roads out there. So Cortez had a little time. We sent that crew out there. This week, we were over at the Road 42 Transfer Park. We're working on that road today. This week, giving it for chip seal. The note down at the bottom of the schedule shows maybe we're starting on the 17th. We're waiting to see what Rod's schedule is in Pueblo. Weather-wise, I could slip to the 24th, but right now we're looking at probably the 24th based on our weather reports we're getting from the other side of the state. So that's where they're working at. Mancos, again, they worked on their Schedule A roads. They got them all done last week. Jason called in and said that all the Schedule A agreements were done this year for the Forest Service over in Mancos. So Dolores will be working on theirs next week, but at least theirs are done. And again, they're working on that 42 road, getting it ready to go. It looks like we're putting a lot of time into it because the schedule shows no chip seal on the 17th, but we're banking that he'll be there. If we get done, we really need 4 days to get it ready. So if we don't chip seal on the 15th, we'll move on to other activities. So, Dolores, they got Road 27 and 36.5. That's north and south of 184 on 27, both gravel, and they're working on reshaping those today a little bit. We had to move a roller over to them this morning, so they're going to water and roll it a little better. But other than that, tomorrow they'll start on their Schedule A, and it takes them about 8 to 10 days to do all theirs. They got a few more miles than Mancos does. So they got 2 blades that'll be going up to do their Schedule A's next week. Roundup, Road 23 is where their work's at. They got the shoulders pulled, replacing some new gravel, hopefully on the 17th. But they're pretty busy out there. Any crew that's available, we send out there to get that 3 miles of road and get it ready to go. It was in pretty bad shape, so it was time to get it fixed. Yeah, we're also going to have to haul in some gravel and fill in some lower zoned areas, like where Wayne Goodall lives down off the hill there from that canal. That's always been a swampy area there. We've got a couple of options. We can either haul some gravel in from the Ormiston pit, or Jerry Koski is making us somewhat of a pretty good offer to haul some sandstone in there. He's got some from some old locations of his, and would like to sell it for fair price.
Use that for base.
It saves us hauling, is what it does.
Is that wet spot, do you think, from a canal seepage? Is that where that water's coming from?
Keenan, it's been that way forever. I think it's just a natural draw from the canal as part of it. It drains down on the fields. I think it's just been that way for forever. It's been worked on many times over the years by the county to build it up, and we just keep building it up higher. So the choice is Ormiston at a long haul, or take advantage of Jerry Koski's sandstone and walk it down with a sheep foot, and then put a 3/4 layer over that and bridge up a little higher, and I think we'll be okay. So we may work that out with Jerry and just do it that way. It's just, the savings is in the diesel and the tires and the wear and tear. And
the transport,
his prices, he's come down on his price to where it makes it equitable for us. So we may just do it that way. But we're going to do that. We're going to get that all built up. It was a mess last winter. That whole stretch over the hill south of that low spot just fell apart. We just got a lot of work on that road to do. So we're going after it now. So anyway, they'll be working on that. And again, everybody's kind of working on these, waiting for chip seal to start. The belly dumps will be hauling chips today. We've got to haul several loads of chips out of out of Hay Camp down to Cortez Yard to stage up for the 7 miles out here. So they'll be working on some of that. They'll also be getting ready to start hauling 3/4 out of hay camp or McCamel. Either one. We're a little low on hay camp. The crusher's trying to knock out some 1.5 inches this week and then move the crusher and move it back into hay camp. So we're just about out of gravel at hay camp. We've got enough at McCamel though to do 23 if you need to.
I was gonna say, if you moved to McElmo, did we ever come across on our offer to the Habitat for Humanity, that gravel, that if you move down there, it might be a good time to contact them and say, hey, we're down here, get your trucks and we'll.
Yeah, I talked to Greg, what's her name, Lynn? Yeah. Lynn, yeah, I talked to Lynn last week, and they've actually got some containers they need to move around and get some stuff shuffled around. But yes, we're in contact with each other,
Okay,
and that's all been set up. So
Good.
soon, I think it'll probably be late July before she's ready. So
Good, okay.
So that's what they'll be doing. Of course, the crusher, we're done with 3/4. We're crushing 1.5 inches this week. He wants to do it for 2 weeks, but I'm running out of gravel at hay camp. I don't know. Stay that long. So I sent 2 trucks up today to start moving him. So dig his heels in all he wants, but I'm moving that crusher. So anyway, we're getting that set up and going. Four Corners Material, they're doing punch list this week on Road CC. There was some shouldering to do, a little light on some gravel in a couple places. One of their joints was a bad joint where you drove across it. It was not a good place there. So we're going to cut that out a little bit and repave it. That's on their punch list. While they're there, though, I'm going to go ahead. We came in slightly under budget to the tune of about $100,000. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let them pave the approach to the school. It comes off and it breaks hard right there. I'm going to go ahead and put about 20 ton in there and kind of transition that into the school parking lot for them and get that done so we don't have that big drop off there. It's just kind of an ugly mess, and I think it's good for all of us to do it that way. It makes everything safer getting in and out of there. So we'll do that while they're out there. And then we'll be working on getting the gutter put in with the state of Colorado. We're just kind of letting all this get done and settle down a little bit, and then we're going to get out there and take care of that. So.
All right, will you be able to get your guardrails in this?
I'd like to think so. It depends on Jeremy and when their schedule is and all that. And then I want to see, as soon as they get done shouldering out there, and I kind of see just exactly what we got, let things settle down a little bit, then I'll get Jeremy out there. And I can't tell you what his schedule is, so I hate to say yes, but that will be the plan. Yeah.
You say you can put an offset?
Well, I want to set them, there's such a steep angle there that I want to set them posts out a little further and get into some good ground and then come up and then set them rails in. The rails will be where they belong, but the posts may be out a little further, to get into some good ground right there. So that's what I meant by offset. I probably used the wrong word, but that's what I'm using.
Okay, you said offset, so then I've been trying to figure out what you had in mind.
Well, normally there's a line they like to use for line up on the road, and then you can, what we call offset, we'll send them back off the line and then block back out to it. So that's kind of what I'm saying.
Okay, I'm with you now.
What do you think I'm doing?
I couldn't figure out what
you and Mrs. Foster here. I don't know.
I was trying to figure out how you were going to put a post in at an angle.
Oh, no, we go back out and get down into the deep ground, and that's, I want Jeremy to look at that, so, yeah.
Okay.
So there's the schedule. Busy, chip seals starting up, we hope 17th, but if not, it'll be 24th, and take care of Transfer Park, and rains, fight through the rains. We'll be ready to go in Cortez. If it rains in the mountains, we'll start down here.
Right down there.
Right, so we got to get a little prep crew out in front of us and get ready to go here, So that's what they're doing today, is prepping and being ready to do that. If we hold off a week, it won't kill us. We'll just move them down to Cortez and start prepping some of these. CDOT and their project is a hassle. It's going to be a battle with cars on our Cortez project with, trying to move around it. Again, if anybody out there is listening, stay on the main highway. It isn't that bad. You don't get held up for very long. They're really moving traffic quite quickly through there. And it helps us with our chip seal project too. So.
How far are they going this year?
To Lewis Ariola School. Now, there is some questions I've been getting from some of the people out there about their edges and what they're going to do with the approaches, and Four Corners was nice enough to share their work plan with me. They are going to pave out on each one of those.
Approaches.
What their plan is to finish paving this week, then go back in. Takes about a week to do the profiling and grinding, get things smoothed up, then they'll come and do it again. They'll put the next 2-inch lip. Then they'll come back in with a different crew and start doing the approaches. So all the approaches will be tapered up to the highway. That's private driveways, that's main county roads, the whole works, yeah. So it's a good deal. It looked like a good job, so.
So they gotta put another 2-inch lift on top of what
Yes,
they're
sir.
doing now.
They got to put another 2-inch lift after they grind it and get it profiled for ride, yeah. So, and their plant has been giving them fits. They needed about a week and a half of good work on the plant. They got some problems with their slack conveyor carrying the asphalt up to the trucks, and so they need a little downtime on it to fix it, and then they'll be able to hit it again. So, okay. Since last year and a half ago, I guess we started a water. What do we call that thing? Road use permit system for events. It's working well. You know, the $100 one, the cheap one, and the easy to work with. It's working great. I just hadn't talked to you guys about it. We've had several different entities come in, from jogging to bicycles to horses to whatever, and they want to use the county roads as a bike path or trail to run on or whatever. It's working great, just to let you know. Great cooperation from these entities. We have had an issue, though, with paint. And we put paint on and we can't get the paint back off. And then we get phone calls. Why are you directing us this way? Why are you directing us that way? Why were you painting eyelashes around these? Why do the kids have a can of paint out there adding to it, you know? So, in the future, to save the arguments, we've just said, okay, no more paint. You use chalk, you can use duct tape, you can do many things out there. So you may be getting a visitor in the next week or two that's very upset with me right now because I won't let him use paint. But we have a reason, and it's very hard to get off. It's very distracting to the drivers, and I'm not quite sure it's even legal because it creates these safety issues.
A visual deal that distracts them. Yeah.
So if you get this particular visitor, he's adamant that he's going to use paint, and we told him no, he's not.
Well, what did he say when you told him about the chalk or the tape?
It's inconvenient, it's difficult, and it's hard to deal with. So is the paint. You know, so yeah, and it's just I'm sorry, but there's just some things we are going to be a little bit stiffer about. We tried to paint for a while, and it led to problems. So, and then, you know, we got a $1 million brand new road out there. I don't want paint marks all over. You know, I got a little personal in this too. So anyway, if you get that visitor, he may come in and visit. He may not, but if he does, that's where the road department is with it. And by the way, the system is working very well. It goes through 3 other departments. They're all very active on getting them signed quickly for them. We know that they're trying to get these events put together. That's a lot of headache for them too. So we're moving them right along, and that's, you know, from law enforcement to sanitation to roads and where they can have their water bottles and keep them out of the intersections and make sure everything keeps flowing, and it's working great. So
can they use a water soluble?
I'm sure there's all kinds of things out there. Yes,
some kind of a pastel deal that'll wash off on a rain. Yeah, where they can wash it off and they're done.
Yeah, I mean, the chalk like the kids use for hopscotch works great.
Doing sidewalks and stuff.
It washes off. First rain, whatever, it's gone. You know, it's no big deal. We're not trying to stop them from marking roads. Just don't use permanent paint. You know, so anyway, something to think about.
Other methods.
We were going to use Jackson Gulch water, but they've got a call on that lake now, so we're not allowed to use that water. So we will be purchasing a couple of acre feet of water. It's pretty minimal. It's about $400. This is a way for them to sell us water and stay legal. So we will be doing that, which I think is a good thing too. Through the water district, Mancos Water District, we're able to work that one out with them. It's holding us up a couple of days for getting water on this road, but my bad. I didn't know this was going to happen. This is the first time that's ever happened. So.
Rob, now that you're talking about buying water, have you considered, with our difficulties with MVI, road department has 20 shares of MVI water, is that correct?
Yes.
Have you thought about, since we're not able to draw that water out of their irrigation system, have you thought about leasing that water to some rancher or farmer and using that money to buy water elsewhere or purchase water?
No, I haven't thought about that angle. As far as that goes, we've used our shares to let the farmers use our water to draw off of. We've done that. But as far as leasing our water to them to make money to pay for other things, no, I hadn't got to that point yet. So I hadn't thought about that.
I thought was you trying to work where you changed the shares to M&I?
We're trying to. Yeah. They're not in favor of that. They're not in favor of leasing water to us either. They don't want to be a leasing company. MVI's never been a leasing type company like Mancos Water is. they'll actually lease their water to construction work and activities. But the MBI doesn't want to do that either. So right now what we're trying to work out is either wait for the board to meet, or the stockholders to meet to change the bylaws, or try to get the water changed to M&I stock, which they're not in favor of that either. So it takes a vote one way or the other. So I don't know, kind of in limbo with them right now. So, but in the meantime, we're still working through DWCD, now Jackson Lake, Mancos Water. Their lake just went off call, so we just got bad timing. Normally they say, yeah, go ahead. You know, this year with all the legal issues and all the water rules and laws, I think everybody's kind of taking a look at this and saying, let's do it by the book. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
you know, that's the way it should be. That way nobody gets in trouble. So, so we're working our way through that one.
Didn't the MBI lease their water to the Ute Mountain Tribe Farm and Ranch?
I do not know that. I don't know if that's what they do or that's through the DWCD, I believe, but I don't know. If I'm not misspoken on that, I believe that comes through the Bureau of Reclamation, DWCD.
It's reclamation water,
and then it's a shared canal usage between the MBI and them. But I
But
believe,
I know that, I know they lease some additional water out there. I don't know.
they could be, but we asked if we could lease it, and they said no, they did not want to get into a leasing. They've never really done that, is what I was told, and they don't want to start. So.
Be a good question to ask the board.
Yeah. Right now we're good though. I heard there was a call on the Dolores River, but I don't know that for a fact. I talked to the CWCD over the weekend, and there's no call on Camel yet, so we're still fine with adjudicated, and everybody's happy. So we're still moving right along. So.
Well, there's still quite a bit of water running down the Torres River, isn't there?
Isn't
The
there?
lake's full.
Absolutely. I don't know why that call started.
why would they
I
get
tried to
called?
call Ken Curtis this morning, but he was out of touch. But I'll get an answer to that if there is a call. Maybe it might just be a rumor. So. DOLA, we're doing good on. We got our trucking done on Road CCN10. We're at the tune of $55,000 right there, so we're well within our budget on our trucking. So we're moving right along with that. I'm going to haul some boulders down from Ormiston to DWCD this week. Part of my plan with them to close Road X temporarily was to help get some rock down there, so we can get their little roads blocked off and we can open our road back up again whenever you guys choose to. But until that gets done, you know, we really got to stick to our agreements here. So I've offered one of our trucks on the big trailer to go get 2 or 3 loads for them, and they're tickled to death to get those and start planting them around out there. So the 3.5 foot boulders. So, and then we talked about the habitat. So that's about it. I'm right on time. Actually, I'm a minute over. So.
Okay.
So we're giving them the boulders.
It's actually the boulders out of the Forest Service pit. So if you want to know the truth, I think it would be the Forest Service is getting their boulders. We're just hauling them.
You're doing the delivery.
Right.
of them, yeah.
I'm doing the
So,
delivery.
yeah.
Yes, sir. I've got those big old rock trailers we got from Skanska years ago, and we're going to put one on a truck and go get 3 loads. So save putting them on them little trucks and banging them up too bad. So.
Just one other thing. I know you've already talked to him, but a question was brought up to me by an individual about our pit fines at Armiston, at Hay Camp Gravel, and wanted to know about. I think you'd made some kind of a deal, but wanted to know about what the PI was in it and if it can be mixed back into the gravel when we crush.
Well, yeah, I guess, but I don't want it. I took it out because it's more I want. So I don't know what his angle is now.
Well, his angle is if you have 10, I don't know how many yards. Say there's 10,000 yards of pit fines. You go to crushing again, and then you add that back into your road base. You would gain 10,000 yards of road base.
Yeah, but I also make too much PI in the road, and then I'm too sticky and too much clay. So he's fishing for a reason why Darren's using it to wash. I don't know. That's between Darren and Eni Saunders. I mean, I took that, and the way I look at it, Larry Don, is if I buy it, it's $1.25 a ton. If I push it back in the pit, it's probably 65 cents a ton. Either way, I got to spend money. I don't want it, so if Eni wants to sell it to him, that's her business. And I told him that. Go get it. I don't care. Darren's the same thing. We're sharing the pit, same area.
Right.
I don't want it. It's going to cost me 65 cents a ton to push it back down and put topsoil on it, and seed it. So really isn't our business
Yeah,
anymore.
whatever.
So him telling me to put it back in is something I don't want to do because I took it out. You know, I took it out for two reasons: to make chips and to reduce the amount of clay in our road base to get a better product. We want to stay somewhere between 6 and 10% PI. I don't want to go to 12, 13. I don't want to mix any more back in. There's plenty of clay in that pit to not have to mix it back in. So, you know, I don't know where it's going. I don't know, really don't know. I think the issue is why are we giving Darren dirt, but I'm not. It's not my dirt. I didn't buy it. I haven't spent a dime on it. I kick it out before it even does anything. And I'm going to spend money to push it down and put dirt on it and seed it. So if I don't touch it,
If you don't have to touch it,
I
you're
make money
ahead.
Yeah, I make money for the county if I just leave it alone, you know, and if
Yeah.
somebody else wants it, have at it, you
It's
know.
waste for you.
Exactly. Now, if we were doing something like, pardon me?
What is PI?
A plastic index.
Clay content.
Yeah. So if this was like Mancos, that we own the pit, and I'm doing something like that, then I guess that could be construed as something weird. But this is just a lease on a pit. I mean, if that dirt sits there for 20 years, I don't care. If I don't have to touch it again, I just made you money. Made this county money.
Right.
Well, I told him I'd ask you.
I know. I don't know where this is going. Now mixing it back in doesn't. Yeah.
To address part of Ellen's concern, have you heard anything from Reams on their fossil water and their CDPHE permitting process?
They're still waiting for that process to all be signed. There was 4 levels of government agencies to sign off on it. All 4 have said they're going to, but it just takes time to sign it. You can tell me not to buy it again if you want to. I don't care. I'm not buying it again until
it's
we get this
approved,
letter.
right.
So if it makes everybody feel better, for the record, I'm not buying it till we get this done. So.
And am I correct that the mag chloride that you get hasn't been tested at all?
Yeah, that's correct. From somebody, some people say it's a different set of standards for that one, and some people say it doesn't even get tested. Some areas, and I'm not mentioning who they are because it's none of my business, but they're actually mixing the two together and having very good luck with it. So
blending the fossil water and the mag chloride.
50-50 mix. So.
We'll take an exception now. What is
It's
it?
just short. The reason why Reams is being scrutinized or required to test more is because the base that they start with is oil and gas drilling water, wastewater. Mag chloride that you buy commercially starts with tap water.
Okay.
So, not to argue, but if the agency writes all this up, signs off on it, and says, go use it, and I send everybody a letter saying that, ends this conversation, or do we continue?
That ends it.
Thank you. I'm getting tired of talking about
Yeah,
it. So.
I hear you.
And trust me, if they say no use, we will not use it. So.
Right.
Okay.
We knew that's how you stood.
Yeah, thanks. So.
I'll tell you one thing about your fossil water road up to Groundhog. I had some people that lived in Duff Creek all their life, and Homeland in Silverton. They went up that road and stayed up there in the Groundhog area for 4 days. And for me, they're selling their land in Silverton so that they can buy land up there at Groundhog because of the road. That ain't
Bravo.
BS. That's
That's
true
bravo.
as you can get.
It is holding together pretty good, isn't it? Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Rob.
See you.
All right. Veterans monthly report. Rick Torres.
Good morning, everyone.
How are you doing? Good to see you, Rick.
Good morning, good morning. Oh, sorry. Members of the public, Ms. Kim. I'll sit over here in the hot seat. Let's see. There's our report for the previous month. There's some stats. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. Some statistics.
Where is,
This is locked up, she's trying to find the password to get this
oh,
unlocked.
okay.
Where Van,
I'm having issues with it too.
I just lost it myself. So,
No worries, Rick.
I'll go slow
on
on
the fly. Yeah.
I'll go
It's not gonna hurt you one bit,
I'll go
Rick.
slow on my numbers.
Not gonna slow you
'Cause
down.
numbers can be boring, but I am excited about one or two of these numbers today, so that's,
I'm gonna move that Montezuma County Board of Commissioners approve the monthly service officers report and certification of pay for July 2017.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the Veteran Affairs Office of Montezuma County certification of pay and report. All in favor?
Aye.
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 thank you, Commissioners. Well, although we don't have the slides up, I'd just like to give a comparison. In June of 2016, we had 214 veterans or their survivors, family members come through our office, 214. And in June of this year, we had 240 people come through our office. That was an increase of 26 visitors came through our office. Of those 240, 17 were new clients. So we're very excited about that. Less than 10%, but we'll take it anyway. I did 6 nursing home / house calls, 2 outreach events. We filed 17 claims. We received notification of 15 claims that were granted. Again, those are older claims that we did earlier this year. Some were from late last year. So we did 17 claims. We won 15 of them. Of those 15 claims that we won, those 15 individuals got just under $19,900. Cumulatively, in a year, those 15 people will receive $238,000. Actually, it's a little bit more than that. And these 15 claimants won $154,403 in back pay.
My God.
Now, the numbers I'm really excited about is where we're at year to date. Year to date, in new claims, we have $60,000, a little over $60,000 a month that our veterans have won. Now, those $60,000 a month, if you multiply that times 12 months, in the next year,
$500,000.
those people, yeah, $722,000 a year for the rest of their lives. Now, the number I'm really excited about is where we're at in the retro payments. Back pay, $1,566,000, $105.38. Anyway, $1.5 million in back pay.
Retro.
And that's the exciting part is a lot of this stuff, because I see what they do with it. I mean, a lot of them come back in and they go out and they buy cars, they pay off debt. Yeah, some of them are buying houses. So that's the good news there is, a lot of them get out of debt. And a lot of them get right back into debt. But it's the American way, right?
Rick, these are new monthly benefits, but have you ever added the what you've did so far per vet times with the new monthly to know how much it is a year that is coming into Montezuma County?
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, per veteran, individually broken out?
Since you began as a veteran service
Oh,
officer.
since 2013?
Oh
yeah, I can get that.
I'd like that.
I keep them on separate.
I mean, that's a good question.
Because you do a manual.
I keep them on separate spreadsheets.
Yeah, there you go.
And what I do is every time that we do a claim, Sarah, John, or I, it goes on a spreadsheet, and that way I always I'm constantly going back in, and I hate spreadsheets, to be honest with you, but because the more spreadsheets, you got to manage spreadsheets. But you go back in and you can see until all my 2015 claims are closed out, I keep going in. Right now, all my 2015 claims have been closed. We've either won them or they've been denied. So that one's done. I'm still working on a few from late 2016 and all the claims we've done in 2017. Some of those people have already won. So yes, I can do a cumulative in 2013 to the present, absolutely.
That'd be nice to know that number.
It'd be nice to see those numbers.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, the key here is as long as these folks don't move, in theory, I don't track that.
Right.
If they move, they've passed away,
Whatever.
yeah, stuff like that. I don't keep track of that. But in theory, If everybody lived and they kept getting their funds, yeah, you're talking quite a few $1 million monthly and back pay. So it does, I guess the reason we report this is just so that you're aware that it does have an impact, not only in people's lives, but it does help the veterans, hopefully paying their taxes, you know, they're paying their mortgages, they don't lose their houses, stuff like that, paying rent, shopping around town. I'm a big proponent of supporting the local businesses. I throw that on my Facebook as much as I can. You know, I understand going out of town and or shopping online. I get that, but I'm always a big proponent of that. But yeah, I mean, this is the only way that I can really show the commissioners, the public, the impact that we're having on what you guys wanted for our
veterans. Until you
veterans.
came, we never saw anything remotely near this.
Well, you guys made it clear that was part of my job requirement. If I don't do it, you know, I'm out of here. You know?
Yeah, right.
So I try to give you the most accurate figures that I can. I think we're pretty good as far as catching and not missing what the VA is doing.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too, is the VA does keep a record of health benefits, but they put out a spreadsheet once a year, and when they do that spreadsheet, it's always behind. It's like, I think they would be reporting now, maybe 2015, if we're lucky 2017. But when that figure comes in, I'll share it with the commissioners, comes in once a year, and it tells you the impact on healthcare. For example, if you can get veterans to go on the VA healthcare system, maybe that's less impact on Medicaid, Colorado Medicaid. You know, so it helps.
Right.
So, but I'll report those figures and education benefit. There's stuff I'm not reporting because it's harder to track, because the VA tracks it and it's once a year. But education benefits alone, there's a lot of veterans going to school and we don't even know about it. Yeah, the VA's helping them pay. I mean, I got my master's, the VA paid for it. You know, so some things the VA, I mean, I criticize them a lot about, but other things they do really well. So, I thank you, commissioners. Any questions or? But I'll bring those numbers for next meeting.
The only question I have is, are you ever going to saturate this market?
You know, I don't. You know, I'll be honest with you. I think I'm seeing a lot of younger veterans. I'm sad to say this. I'm seeing less World War II veterans. When I first got here in 2013, a lot of my clients, a majority, I was going to say, are World War II. You know, those guys are in their 90s. Those men and women, I mean, they're up there.
They're way up there.
But my heavy duty clients right now are Vietnam. And the younger ones, believe it or not, they're coming back here. They're coming back here.
Oh, that's
so
good.
A lot of them don't want, you know, they don't want to be in big cities. A lot of them have mental health issues, you know, but not in a bad way. In other words, they just don't deal well in large crowds. They rather be where it's more peaceful, like me.
Right.
You know, they want to be where it's peaceful.
That's how we got you.
I like peace and quiet.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep, thank you,
have a
Rick.
good month.
Yep.
You too.
Right. Take care, folks.
All right, we have the Health Department bi-monthly report with Bobbi Locke, the Director of the Health Department.
Hey, this morning, Bobbi.
Issues?
Yeah, it's kind of chaos in here, but we're getting by.
Okay.
But we make it work.
Okay. So, Melissa did email you, I believe, everything? Okay. So, I don't know if we want to discuss the financial or my updates. Let's just go to the financial piece first. Okay? So, you can kind of see, as looking at the revenue, pretty much we are at halfway through the year. I mean, and that's what we, do we have it?
Which one are we
Ooh, okay. I was just going to do the financial piece.
Bi-monthly?
Not that.
Okay.
The actual revenue.
Revenue,
Got it.
There we go.
Medicaid report
Yep.
breakout.
So in regards to our we've had issues with Medicaid. It's a billing issue. So
We are now finally able to bill Medicaid for our immunizations, which is good. And we'll probably see a big old uptick for July when we actually put those numbers in at the end of July, early August, because we're back billing all the stuff that we had been able to bill from March through June.
What have they done? Have they changed their system or something, Bobbi, and made
yeah,
it?
So, yeah, so we finally got that straight. I mean, it's across everyone is having issues. Yeah, it's not an internal thing. So so we will see an increase, but it's going to be reflective of that back pay, you know. So as we look down on everything here, we're right where we need to be for everything. Our communities that care, that's the third line down, the CTC, we're only at 22.8%, but that is because they delayed us in starting. The contract was supposed to start in January, but they didn't get the final contract signed at the state level. They wouldn't let us hire until the contract was in place, or they wouldn't let us start the employee until the contract. Anyway, so she got started late. I mean, it was out of our hands. So, but we're up and running with that, and that's not an issue. As far as if you look at Healthy Kids, which is, we need to get that changed. It's not Healthy Kids, it's Nurse Family Partnership. It used to be called Healthy Kids, that's why it says that. Anyway, it says Healthy Kids Medicaid and the line is blank. That is because we have no longer been able to bill Medicaid, but as of January 1, that's going to be reinstituted. Again, a Medicaid issue. And so we will be starting to bill again. It's been being paid for through Investing Kids in the tobacco settlement, but we did have a time where we were billing Medicaid for our services.
What is the Healthy Kids NHVP?
That's Nurse Family Partnership. Yeah, NHVP stands for Nurse Home Visitor Program.
Okay.
Years ago we called it Healthy Kids, but that went away, but we just haven't changed it on our actual roster. It's Nurse Family Partnership.
Okay.
So, and most of our grants are through CDPHE, which July 1 to June 30 is our fiscal year with them. So
We're starting new.
Yeah. So, but this is kind of where we sit right now, 6 months into the year. So I think we're looking pretty good. And I don't know if you could pull this one up, Leanne. It just shows the Medicaid totals. It was part of this attachment on the tabs at the bottom. Go down there and see if she may have only put that one on there. And that's fine. It's just called Medicaid totals, and it just shows you. It was on their tabs at the bottom of the spreadsheet, but she might only just have the revenue on there, and it's fine. It just reflects the same thing. But I was going to give you. It's kind of the totals of what it looks like. In our dental program,
we don't have it.
We don't have it. Okay. All right. This is the most important meat that we got there. So. So that's kind of where we sit financially. And as far as update-wise, I think what I'm going to do, you guys received the program update, and I'm just going to kind of pretty much focus on 2 programs this time. Okay? So, talking about, first we'll do WIC. And if you keep scrolling, Leanne, I think it's on the second page. So, I just wanted to kind of fill you in a little bit on what we've done with WIC. WIC has kind of had a enrollment decline over time, again, across the board, not just specific to here. So we had the opportunity, it was presented to all WIC programs, to apply for a grant through the Colorado Health Foundation for outreach. And so we did write for that grant. We just submitted it like 2 weeks ago, so it'll be a bit till we know. And it basically will enable us to buy a vehicle to go out and do outreach, enroll people out in the field in their communities in which they live, because they're trying to, people who are eligible for it should be enrolled in it. And for whatever reason, the numbers have declined around the state. So it was an opportunity for us to try to go to them to get them enrolled. So we would actually, it's kind of like a little van. We had this conversation with Clint as the fleet manager, and he gave us figures as to what it would cost to purchase the vehicle, and we would essentially own the vehicle. The funds are for 2 years, but then the vehicle we'd be able to use it for other programs too. We could do outreach with immunizations, we could do outreach with our cholesterol program, we could do outreach in many ways. But there's supposed to be an area where we can actually have a couple chairs and a computer and do the actual enrollment and everything
in the
van.
fully fund the vehicle?
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if we get it.
How do
because
they know that there are that many underserved people out there that? how do they know
because
that?
because they know Medicaid eligibility of how many people enrolled in Medicaid versus how many people are on WIC. So people are eligible for it because they're on Medicaid, but they're not coming in for the WIC service.
So maybe they don't need it. Is that saying they don't need it, or?
It's not that
You know,
they're
the reason I'm asking this, Bobby, and I don't want to get too far off track, but Josiah said in the social services department, they came down and did an assessment, and they know how many people are on the food stamp program,
Right.
and they said they were only reaching 50% of the people that should be on.
right.
So I guess if
Why
that-
aren't people accessing?
Yeah, if they're not coming, do they really need it, or, I mean, what? It seems odd that,
And it's the same situation. I'm talking. This is the same population we're talking about because a lot of the food stamps folks, they're eligible for WIC too.
yeah.
So we don't really know. I mean, we don't know, and so sometimes it's a transportation issue. Sometimes it's, you know, people might know they're eligible for it. They might know they need it, but maybe they don't want to ask for the help.
Don't want it.
You know, or they don't want to be, you know, for whatever. I don't know. This was an option that WIC sites were offered if they want to try it and see if it would help their population. So my WIC supervisor really wanted to go for it, and let's see if we can make a difference if we're funded for it, you know, and see if it'll make our population be served better. I don't know, but we've dropped consistently since 2012 about 80 clients a year. So I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it when people are really eligible for it and they're not coming in for the services, it's like, why, you know, why aren't they? So I have no idea if we'll get funded. I don't know. A lot of sites have applied for it, so you know, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that one. So it was $62,500 is what the amount was.
Okay.
So that was the one program I wanted to fill you in on. And then, okay, so consumer protection. This is Melissa's program. There's a lot of stuff kind of going on with this. We'll start with the on-site wastewater. And I believe this was an attachment that was sent to you, the Water Quality Control Division, a quick guide for revising. This was one of the attachments that was in your email. So basically at this point, her septic permits for the third quarter, she's done 36 in 2017. Last year was 24. So all of her numbers are going up. Okay. The new regs are going in. They went into effect on June 30th of 2017. There's a period of adjustment when you actually institute things. This Thursday at Destination Grill at 5:30. Melissa, I'm going to go to the meeting as well. All of our engineers have been invited to attend this meeting at Destination Grill, and she's going to educate them on what those changes are. And hopefully after that, begin the initiation process. But as this document says, this quick guide, there's a lot of pieces that need to go into play. There needs to be a public hearing that ideally they want it in September and announced to the public in September, and the hearing would be in October, and the final regs would be in place shortly thereafter. After talking to Melissa, it's highly unlikely that she's going to be able to get everything done in time to do that, just considering all the work she has to do. So we're probably talking more like instituting it in January and maybe having this public hearing at the end of this year. So because we're trying to be realistic. But either way, she's educating her engineers and kind of getting them to understand what it's going to mean. So there's about 5 or 6 that she continuously deals with in our community in Montezuma County. As far as specific changes to it,
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
I would like to have Melissa here to kind of talk about that because I don't know all the ins and outs of it. But and we have a document that is redlined as to what the changes are, and we can certainly send that email that to you guys so you can take a look at it. And she's willing to come and kind of fill you guys in on what those changes are too. So if you want her to do that, we can get her on the agenda and she can come over and talk more specific.
I wouldn't mind at least seeing the document. You could ask her to send it to me. The red
Sure.
line.
Yep.
And I'd like to see it because I would like to see how it's going to affect the citizens of Montezuma County.
Sure. Right. Okay, we will do that. What I'll do is we'll send you the red line document, and then after you have a chance to read it, then maybe we can get on the agenda. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of a big thing that's going on. As far as the waste tire, that was a flyer that you had up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that she went to this conference and she was like, "This is awesome," and she was so excited about all the different things that could be done with this. And she would love to go. She said it would be really interesting to take a tour of the processing facility or the pyrolysis facility. Anyway, she would love to do more with this. However, the future looks a little bit grim in that it looks like the funding is going to be halved as far as reimbursement for the tires. So I don't know what's going to happen at the state level, but if the funding drops, then I don't know if the program will be viable.
Such a good program.
I know. So anyway, the waste tire is a good program, and the future's to be determined. I don't know about that, but she was very excited when she went to it. She was like she would love to do more with it. So the retail food, childcare, schools, that piece of her job, she's really honest. She did not meet her obligation, the 100% of inspections that were supposed to have been done. Again, she's one person. It can't physically be done. The new database has been nothing but a nightmare. She still can't pull reports, create reports. Actually, I just had her, she's going to email me I'm going to put an email in myself too now and see if we can, I don't know. It's statewide. It's an issue. She's got anywhere from 145 to 150 retail facilities throughout the county, and then she has a dollar amount here that she has generated for temporary licenses and expects more revenue with the additional temporary events coming up. The different fairs and activities in the park and things like that need permits. And the last thing that's on her plate is zoonotic issues. We have tested one bat so far this quarter. It was negative for rabies. Dog bites continuously seem to be a problem, and people don't seem to vaccinate their dogs and cats for rabies. So, and it will become an issue if there's a skunk that's tested positive. There has been the first human case in Colorado, West Nile, in Larimer County. Nothing here yet. So they're really encouraging. The mosquitoes are pretty active right now, so they're really encouraging people to exactly what the state vet says. Protective clothing, long sleeves, and make sure your house is, screens in your house, no standing water. Get rid of those tires, So that's pretty much where we are as far as that goes. We are on the agenda next month to come and talk with you, Melissa and I, about all that she does and what is coming down the pipe for her and her position. And and we're going to kind of talk numbers, and I'm asking that we could get her more help. So
and make sure that the state, if these are unfunded mandates coming down from the state, that's something we need to know about, what the state's telling her that she's going to now have to start doing, that they're not.
Well, even in existence right now, we don't get, she is not fully funded for her position. Her position is not fully funded. And the way that some communities have handled that is their fees are maxed out in order to pay for what is done. So.
Can we?
Well, then I'll go right ahead.
Well, I just so you say we have a public meeting about this different changes to the septic system.
Sure.
So is it mandatory that we change it?
There's different from my understanding, and again, I'm not, I don't have it all up here as far as all the different regs, but they're recommending, so you guys are going to decide, you know, kind of what we want to do and what we don't want to do. From what I understand, there's going to be a basic that is required, you know,
Right.
but then there's additional things that they want done, and so that's where the decisions have to be made, you know, as to how we're gonna, what we're instituting in our county. So, yeah, it's kind of to be determined. But either way, it's going to require, it's more work for her because of what has to be inspected and what has to be done and how much she has to deal with the engineers, and you know, there's more in that respect. So, anyway. And she also, you know, serves Dolores County for these things too.
Yeah.
So, and they, I mean, they pay us.
They pay part of her salary.
Yeah, they pay $2,500 a year. So,
Probably I'll look at that.
Yeah, that's.
We looked at that in one other department.
so that's kind of, so yeah, it's a conversation we need to have because I mean, truly, she cannot do more than she's doing.
I think that's where we have to get down and look and see what the state is mandating, what they're either putting into legislation or regulations, and how that directly affects her time allocation and stuff, and then that's when we start pushing back up the line, saying, you know what, you want to require all this, but you don't send any. I mean, it's
Right.
you know,
But
push comes to shove
part of
someday.
the revenue are fees, which you guys set those fees. So, and other counties,
Right.
you know,
Right.
they have way higher fees than we have. So, and that is part of how you pay the salary. So, that's all part of, you know, again, it's just, I don't know where we want to go, but you know, we're just going to kind of come with the numbers, kind of where we are, how much we can generate by where we are now, what do we need to do to make a you know, I mean, just to have a discussion of what we can do, because otherwise then it's, you know, maybe she can't do all that she's doing, but if you don't inspect all the food retail and childcare and schools, then how does that serve the community? So I don't, you know what I mean? It's just.
But it also, but to me, it seems
Yeah.
really common sense that if she can't take care of Montezuma County, why is she going to Dolores County? Why should Montezuma County have to pay for maybe another employee or not? Why don't we just tell Dolores County, you know what, it worked out in the past, but we've got to do something different because now we're hurting our county.
And that's
I mean,
part of what we, you know, kind of part of what we can talk about, because you know, I can't give you that answer right now, but you know, I think we just have to look at all the possibilities.
Need to see how much time, what commitment she has out there.
And
what
you
is
know,
required.
it's pretty incredible how many people. And here's the biggest barrier, the biggest hurdle we have is that we get people walking in all day long with questions for her, whether it's septic, restaurants, whatever. But she has to be out in the field doing these inspections. So when she goes out and does her inspections and she comes back, I mean, she's got 25 messages on her voicemails. And then she's trying to get through the voicemails, and she's got 5 people walking in the front office asking her questions. You know what I'm saying? So it's like she can't be there and out in the field at the same time. So it's almost like if we just had a piece of a secretarial position that just sat in the office, was educated on how to answer questions, could do all the paperwork, could answer the questions that walk in, answer the questions on the phone, so she could be in the field doing the actual work and education piece. It would be a beautiful match. It really would. Because she can't do both. Like, you really can't do both, you know. And so anyway, you know, these are all things that we're trying to problem solve and trying to figure out how to make it work, but that's what we're coming to you to talk about next month.
We'll see if we can't find an answer.
So, yeah, and if you want, I mean, she can even talk to you guys about the on-site, you know, like, we send you the document, you have a chance to review it. When we're on the agenda already, maybe I can get Melissa to give me a few more minutes, and she can talk more about the on-site, like the septic requirements.
That would be
You
nice.
know,
It
we could
would
just
be-
tack it on to already what we're coming over here to talk about, you know.
All right, yeah,
So,
that'd be great.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions about any of it?
It looks
It's
like
a lot
you-
of stuff.
Yeah, it looks like
I'm
you
sorry.
kept the Ebola out of the county.
Yes, yeah,
thank
we
God for
managed
that.
to do that. Yes,
Federal
yes.
funding.
And there is yeah, that's going.
That one still leaves me.
The
It just leaves me.
and you know about the water outage or power out, water pressure going down in Mancos, and so there's a boil water order.
No,
No, we don't know
that
anything about
Yeah, well, it should be. Town of Mancos knows, and everybody should know about it. The it's supposed to go down today between 9 and 3. The water's supposed to go off, and then they have to turn it. They're doing some maintenance work on the line in town, the Public Works. Anyway, so there's a boil water in effect today, maybe tomorrow. Don't know how long until
It's
they
a
do all the
temporary-
testing.
it's a plan- it's a
Temporary,
planned scheduled thing.
scheduled
Okay,
thing.
yeah.
People should know about it already
Yeah.
that live there, and so that is in effect. So in case you get any phone calls, you in particular, Larry Dondas. So, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
They're working on it.
Yes.
Thank you, Bobby.
Yes.
All right. We have Jon Lebowitz. Come on up. Run just a little bit late.
I gave you that copy of those letters.
Yeah. Oh.
How's it going?
Morning, John.
Good morning.
Hi, John.
Hello. Ryan Brown's here. He's the landowner.
Nice to meet you, Ron. Keenan Hotel.
Nice to meet you.
I had them underneath here. I couldn't find them.
Yeah.
I did email it.
Yeah, the letters, you got the letters.
Non-objection letter.
Yeah.
I brought maps for you,
Thank you.
as always. So that's the zoomed-in one, and here's the area map of Mancos where we're talking
Does this
about.
incorporate the old Reddert, Doc Reddert's old farm?
Yeah, it's
old
my
ranch?
grandparents' place.
Mhm.
I didn't email the maps. I'm sorry.
No, this is the one. This is the Hackley place, though. It's just between Jay Wallace's and the Forest Service on Chicken Creek Road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, as we do with all of these applications to Great Outdoors Colorado, they request that we present to the county commissioners and either seek a letter of support or a letter of non-objection. Based on our last few meetings, we've kind of skipped the letter of support side, and I'm just asking for a letter of non-objection from the county. This is a working agricultural farm. It's been in the Reddert and Brown family for multiple generations. I'm sure you're familiar with the property. We are going to be seeking funding from Great Outdoors Colorado and the Gates Family Foundation, most likely, which is a private foundation that matches these projects. It's 520 acres is the conservation easement, and it will have two building areas. So the Brown Reddert family are reserving 2 areas in the future to put residential buildings, and then of course the rest of the property will remain agricultural, open space, and will be able to be used for those purposes.
How much do you hope to get for the conservation easement?
We're still working out the exact numbers. As I think you know, I'm leaving the Conservancy soon, so
We don't want you to leave.
well, thank you. So we're kind of doing this in a little bit of a rush, I would say, just to try to get as many details as possible done before I leave. And I'm sure you guys know, perhaps, Dave Nichols, who worked before me at the Conservancy. He's helping with getting this project finished well after I leave.
Is he going to be your replacement?
No. He enjoys his winters in Mexico and is not coming back. But he's helping with the grant side of this because the grant is actually due after I leave the Conservancy. So he's kind of stepping in as a volunteer and helping the Brown family get the grant done. But to answer your question, we are seeking somewhere in the vicinity of $500,000 to $600,000 for the easement acquisition and transaction costs, somewhere in that ballpark. When you add all of the transaction costs and the Gates Family Foundation match, it'll probably be a bit over $600,000. As we've discussed, these are expensive transactions. They can cost anywhere from $50,000 upwards. So we try to cover as much of that as possible for the landowner because they are donating quite a bit of value when they do a conservation easement on their property. So the total grant request will be somewhere in this 5 to 650, 600. We just haven't nailed down an exact number.
Does it have any easements for trails or anything like that through it? Is that written into this?
Well, that's a great question. We've been discussing quite a bit about the potential for some sort of, it's not unfettered public access, but similar to what we were doing on the Butler Corner property, where a component of it has public interest, public access, whatever it may be. I don't want to nail that down because that's not something the Brown family has formally incorporated into their plans, but it's something we've been discussing quite a bit.
We were interested in also because we used to go with, years ago from a lower place up by horseback past Lake Mancos and down through Chicken Creek and up to the meadows. So we had brought that up with MLC and John about the possibility of other people being able to do that too. So.
I might be waiting. Does Ray Kaiser still own some property up there that borders the forest like this?
I don't know. I don't know who that is. That's this is just to the south of us is Jay's property, and over I think the guy on the right, I haven't met him, but his name is Price. Who owns from the Lake Mancos, just between us and Lake Mancos, and then all on the other side, all the other three sides are Forest Service. So. We run, and we used to run our yearlings up there, and now Scotty runs his, and Terry sometimes runs his cattle up there. So. And trying to kind of protect the water system, it goes from the reservoir, and we got a pipe going down to the meadows. And they're actually putting in another NRCS pipeline to get it over to the west side. So, trying to. As you can see, it's a little dry on the west side, particularly.
Yeah, how do they? So the Forest Service access. Let me see if I can.
Well, in '66, my grandfather bought the property in '43, but in '66, he actually while he was commissioner, actually gave the Forest Service this access from here across to here, and they had just. Officially given us, because we had a road down here that went down to a well site down there, and Woodiock does logging down here. So we used to we always have taken that, and we just assumed we had it. But they had cut it off a while ago, but they gave us the key. Now they're going to give us an official permit to use that. But what we've been using for a long time. So otherwise,
this is a public access right there then?
This is all public, up through, and then it goes up through here.
That goes right, so that the county road goes through your property.
Right, exactly, right.
So this easement wouldn't affect the public access to get to the Forest Service?
Not in any way, shape, or form, no. Any right-of-way easement that predates conservation easements are not impacted by that at all. They're actually listed as exceptions to title when we go through the title process, so they're not even included in this.
How far down is the Everett property?
Everett starts just on the other side, over on 43.
The Everett piece that we have an easement on? Oh. Is that what you're talking about? Larry Everett?
Yeah, Larry Everett.
This is, if this is the one you're talking about, that's his property right here. So it's one road over, but just over the canyon there. So yeah, looking at the area map, you can see this is, a lot of people in Mancos are really interested in doing conservation easements. It's our highest area of conservation easements. This would be the 30th easement in what we define as our Mancos Valley program area. So the constituents there have strong conservation ethic and keep coming to us to preserve big farms and ranches.
Commissioners, any additional questions?
Not for me.
So just to point out, and we generally talked about this in the last time, I kind of concluded this letter on your behalf. being open about the fact that we have disagreements about conservation easements. So in it, I say, while we have reservations about conservation easements, we do not object to private landowners making this personal decision. So I just wanted to let you know I've kind of incorporated your concerns into this, and Great Outdoors Colorado knows that, you know, our commissioners do have reservations about conservation easements.
So that's the same letter that we
Yes,
have right here?
yeah, it is. Yeah, this is just the draft. I didn't have it on the
Having all eternity is a long time.
It is. Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Things change.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Commissioners?
Same story. I'm not for these things at all.
How does that letter read?
Do you want me to read it out loud?
Yeah, would you?
All right.
For the
So, dear Great Outdoors Colorado Trust Fund Board, the Board of County Commissioners of Montezuma County is pleased to submit this letter of non-objection for Montezuma Land Conservancy's request for funding to assist the Brown and Reddert family to protect a historic property north of Mancos. The Hackley Place is a working agricultural property, and the owners have requested the Montezuma Land Conservancy apply for funding to assist in the process of conserving their land. Montezuma County is a right-to-farm county, and a primary objective of the Montezuma County Land Use Plan is to support the continued viability of agriculture by supporting private property rights. Private landowners who wish to keep their land in agricultural production should be able to do so. Moreover, a conservation easement transaction is a voluntary transaction between two willing parties. As county commissioners, we respect private landowners' rights to make decisions about their privately owned land. While we have reservations about conservation easements, we do not object to private landowners making this personal decision.
I should probably add that it's between about 5 willing parties, given that my aunt, my mother, and my brothers and I are all. I'm speaking on behalf of the family.
Do they all live here?
No, they're in various parts of it.
So there's 5 of you that own it then?
Yeah, in the LLC. Yeah.
I would move that the Board of Montezuma County Commissioners approve this non-objection letter.
Again? I'll tell you what my concerns are. The more that I learn about these is that we did the one for Keith Evans over there, and he allowed the public on his property. And I understand what the letter says, but one thing they left out is about where does the $500,000 come from? And I believe that part of that money comes from the taxpayer.
It actually all comes from lottery dollars. So every time you buy a lottery ticket, you're paying part of my salary, and you're helping landowners like Ryan put conservation easements on their property. Great Outdoors Colorado is constitutionally, it's in the Colorado Constitution, 25% of all lottery funds have to go to conservation easements, and this is that 25%. The other 25% goes to Colorado Parks and Wildlife, another 25% goes to municipalities, and another 25% goes to something else that I forgot at this point. But it is not tax dollars, unless, of course, you could, of course, make the argument that if it wasn't going to conservation, it could be going to something else, but that would take a constitutional amendment in the state of Colorado for that to happen.
Do you have something that I know, like the Hensley or the Hindmarsh property out there had something in the easement that said that there could be a trail allowed to go through the property?
Yeah.
Do you have anything like that for this?
That was something that we, each of these conservation easements are negotiated on a one-time basis. So that was something that Lonnie and Stanley at the time and us talked about, because we knew about the potential for the Pathways to Mesa Verde Trail, I think it's called. And that was something that they wanted to add. I will just add to that, however, it's still up to the landowner whether or not they allow a bike path. The Conservancy does not mandate uses like that on landowners. So that was something that...
Does it prohibit them from doing that?
No, there's zero prohibitions in it, but it would be up to Ryan and his family to say, we want a trail on our property. conservation easements limit very specific things. And if they're not limited by the conservation easement, then it's allowed. An easement is a restrictive document. So unless it specifically says you cannot put public trails on your property, the Brown and Reddert family could decide to do that. And the easements do not say that. So it's very much up to them to make a decision like that. And it's not something the Conservancy gets into at all, which is really one of the nice things about conservation easements. We're not mandating stuff on properties. 95% of the decisions remain with the private landowner, which I'm sure you can attest to. He's had a conservation easement on another one of his properties for 10 years at this point, something like that. And it doesn't get in the way of his day-to-day use and appreciation of that property. We don't step in on a day-to-day level in any way, shape, or form.
Unless he puts a house in the wrong place.
Then we would step in. And again, that is something that's very specifically defined in the conservation easement that says this is where you have to put a house. You can't put it in your meadow or in your irrigated field or in that whatever endangered species habitat if there was something like that. So that's a very specific restriction that is in the conservation easement.
And what is the difference between the where you put a house, for example, and say that you want to put a trail? Why is there a difference between the two?
The primary difference is when you asked about value, that's all derived from an appraisal. And an appraisal is based on the restrictions that we're putting on development rights on the property. We don't look at trails, I don't know the historical reason for this, but we don't look at trails the same way as residential buildings. And for the exact same reason, as you know, we're an agricultural land trust first and foremost. There are no restrictions on conservation easements for putting up ag buildings. If Ryan wanted to put up a corral in an area on that property that's not within the building area, he could. That has nothing to do with the conservation easement. All the easement is doing when it comes to buildings is restricting residential buildings and restricting subdivision in the future.
You said periodically that Scotty and Terry Cox put cattle on there. When's the last time they were on there?
Just before they're going up on the range. So
this
between
year.
May, June, yeah, and then there's a lot coming down in the fall. Scotty brings a lot for about.
Is it fenced like the bear? That must be where the farming is where the bear is. Is that what that is?
Yeah, right. All the meadows.
Because that rest of that's timber.
Right, exactly. And we have woody out thinning the timber on the place. Has been actually a second time in about 4 years. Can I ask, you're concerned about the trail? We've thought about those, both ways. On the one hand, offering the public something that we had the opportunity to do as kids. On the other hand, we had worries about, trash or fires starting, that kind of thing. Where are you coming from?
But you haven't made up your. So you are going to allow the public to do what you.
That's one thing we're talking about, and so I was curious what you're feeling about that.
If I knew for sure that you was going to do that, I guess this is my concern with Steamboat Springs. That's Routt County. Routt County has a very. In fact, the county actually puts money into conservation easements, and they are 2 Democrats, 1 Republican. I'm not sure how the Republican got in there, but they have always, for the last 5 years, touted about their conservation easements. And at the past meeting that we were at in June, one of the commissioners got up and said, we have just realized that we have locked our town out from ever expanding. And they were having second thoughts about conservation easements because they pay, it sounded like good money that the county does to help these landowners do that, but then all of a sudden
they were landlocked. Looking at their map and seeing how they had checkerboarded themselves into a checkmate situation that they're ultimately going to limit the ability for their community to keep growing. It's kind of one of those deals that those unintended consequences are now starting to show up on them, and they're having some real reservations about it.
I don't know if this is very relevant, but the perspective that Montezuma Land Conservancy has, we are not in any way anti-development.
No.
We're an agricultural land trust. What we do is set out to work with landowners to protect the biggest, best, most important agricultural properties, and in some cases, like the Keith Evans Place, recreational properties. I think what Routt County's doing, La Plata County puts tons of money into conservation easements, San Miguel County puts tons of money. That's a little different than what we do here in Montezuma County. We're working with willing landowners to protect farms and ranches. That's 99% of the work we do. And there's got to be a balancing act, right? People live here in Montezuma County because of open space and the beauty and the recreational opportunities. So we're not saying you don't want to not develop everything, but there's got to be some sort of balance, which is what I hope in my mind since I've been at MLC we're trying to achieve in doing our little part in meeting that balance. We're not putting circles around Cortez with conservation easements and locking this place up. We're just working with farmers out in the county to preserve these special
but sometimes
places.
you can indirectly do that. Given Routt County is a perfect example.
Absolutely.
What they did, I think, was all in good faith and with the right motives and everything. But then once the manifestations show up after 15 or 20 or 30 years of doing this, all of a sudden now they've got a picture of, we're locked in.
Sure.
And I know we're not faced with anything near that here now, but once these properties become locked into a certain definition for time and all eternity, we don't know what's going to happen in 100 years.
Absolutely.
We don't know where we're going to be in 100 years. And
Is there a home on this now?
No,
There's
there's an
Homestead.
old homestead. The
Yeah.
old Hackley place was there's an old shack there and an old barn over here. So the main homestead was going to be in about the same place.
And do you live here?
I'm here about 4 months a year.
So it's all absentee landowners.
Well,
Pretty much.
yeah, pretty much. We lease it for and we run Scotty runs our cattle and his cattle on a place, and so that's where I'm not retired yet, but I've been able to get out for 4 months a year. I mean, our hope in terms of to address your point about the long-term plan too, is that this is up there near the Forest Service, and it's got meadows and acreage that we'd like to keep in agriculture, and hate to see broken up into kind of subdivision up there. And,
is this kind of a financial decision for your family?
well, it enables.
Partially.
We've gone down. We've been able to keep it 2 generations past my grandparents, and at this point, it's sort of looking forward to say, okay, how can we come to family agreement to make sure that we divide it up in a way that doesn't sort of just mess it up. So.
First, I want to just say, John is bent over backwards working with this board. Just polite. We asked
I've answered every question
yes,
you've ever asked.
and
That's
really
what
what
he's done
but
an outstanding job.
I can't second it unless I know that you put in that access for the horses, like you said that you did.
Yeah. Well, in terms of it would be an access. Should I let you speak to it, or we talked a little about this in the last couple of days in terms of?
Yeah, there's. Well, first I would say I would feel uncomfortable forcing Ryan to make that decision right now, because that's an enormous decision for a piece of land that's been in his family, privately owned for decades. There are concerns with opening up a piece of land like that with what I define as unfettered access, which just means there's a sign up front that says, welcome, come and go hike. Because it's a working agricultural property, and if someone went down there and started a fire, it would devastate his family's property. What we're talking about, which again, we can't make a decision right here now, is a situation where, very similar to what we're doing on the Butler Corner property, which is through programming, whether it's MLC programming or in Kathy's, in her perspective or her place, it's the Nature Center programming. We could invite people onto the public on a regular basis on a predetermined schedule. that's something that we can lean towards. But I don't think this property is appropriate for just inviting people out there whenever they want, doing whatever they want, because it's a management issue. Ultimately, Ryan's family, it's still privately owned. He would have to bear the responsibility of fire mitigation and cleaning up trash and all those kind of things, which I don't think is appropriate for this sort of property. So that's you know, this is very different than when La Plata County puts money towards a bike path conservation easement in town, which they've done on dozens of properties. The county's paying for the management of those properties. The land trust happens to have an easement on it, but the county's saying there's a public interest in this and we're going to pay for maintaining these trails and signs and fire mitigation and thinning and all that. And I don't think that's an appropriate use for Montezuma County. I don't think you guys want to get into the business of doing that either. So there's got to be a balance there.
I've been out there on the Greer Park a lot, and the county doesn't take that responsibility, and I haven't seen any trash, and there hasn't been a fire out there yet. I don't see what the difference is.
Actually, there were kids, I don't want to say kids, there were some people that started a fire out there in the last 6 months. Didn't spread, but someone did start a fire out on that property. And Keith is out there on a regular basis cleaning up trash. So there is a problem. Keith he's just very willing to do that, and he opened up that property. Yeah, and he opened up that property long before we put an easement on it. This is remote canyon, and if someone started a fire there, it'd be a disaster. So I don't want to push back too hard on that. I just think there's got to be a middle ground for doing something that's in the public interest, if that's something the county is interested in, and not doing it in a way that is putting an enormous burden on a private landowner for managing and maintaining what could be a pretty costly issue. So I don't have a good answer for you right now other than that.
And, is this a county road?
Yes. Right?
Is it a
It's
green
a
road?
forest service eventually, right? That's an issue.
Is this a green road or a red road? Right there, that goes through the private property.
How far down is this?
It's up
Up of
In
184, Mancos up, take up 184, the Chicken Creek.
I can actually tell you that it's been, over the years, it's been kind of back and forth, because what the forest...
Up until forest boundary, so yeah, that is absolutely.
So it's green to the forest?
So it's green going right through Ryan's property. It turns red right at that corner.
Oh, okay. So it's green all the way up to there.
Yeah.
So they couldn't shut the public off to get to the forest?
Mm-hmm. No.
All right, out of respect to John, I'll second the motion.
Well, thank you, gentlemen.
There's been a motion and a second to approve a letter of non-opposition to for the Brown and the Reddert family for conservation easement. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those against?
Aye.
So just, this is my last meeting with you guys. I just want to say thank you.
When are you leaving? When are you heading out?
My last day of work's the 28th of this month, and then I'm going to be packing throughout August, and we'll be leaving late August. So I just wanted to say thank you for good conversations and good questions. It's been a pleasure working with you over the last few years.
It certainly has.
We're going to miss you.
Goes both ways. I hope
You'll be
find
hard to
somebody
replace.
of your caliber to take over your position.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Where's that one go?
Do you know when they're going to have a replacement for you?
I don't have an exact date. We've gotten some really good applicants, so hopefully sooner than later. And I can assure you there is a lot of landowner interest to keep doing this stuff, so whoever that person is, he or she will be presenting it to you guys at some point.
They will become a familiar face,
Yes.
just like you have.
Yes. We're not, Conservancy's not
they
going
have the same
anywhere.
knowledge you do about tax credits?
I sure hope so. That's kind of a requirement for the job, is understanding the ins and outs of that stuff. I know I haven't been able to answer some of your questions on tax credits. Some of that stuff goes beyond my knowledge. But in Colorado, we're one of 4 states in the country that have a tax credit program for easements, and that's an enormous part of why these transactions happen in this state. So I have to imagine or assume that whoever takes on the role will have a pretty good understanding of how it works and why it works.
Yeah, those become a very valuable part of this whole
Yeah.
whole deal.
Huge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
you.
Commissioners.
All right.
Appreciate your time.
All right, we have the sheriff here for the sheriff's
Uh-oh,
report.
we brought the sheriff in?
He's got
You don't have any warrants on your head, dude. As long as you're not bringing a warrant. Yeah. How's life?
Yeah, we did have the broadband discussion before the sheriff. Should we just do that after the
Yeah,
sheriff?
let's just do that. Yeah, we can move that around. We kind of dipped into his time.
Actually, we could do it after lunch. We got plenty of
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
All right. Well, she's loading that up. Just a review of sheriff's fees and detention levels and whatnot.
They raised your fees.
Well, yeah, but we're not done yet. Okay.
Okay.
I know that I haven't got a confirmation yet, but I was asked to go to Denver and testify before the state legislators about the sheriff's fees as well as mental health in the communities and whatnot. So if that happens, that'll be on next Monday, the 17th.
Mm-hmm.
Just give you a quick update. The horses, the Mounted Patrol program's doing well. Two of the officers completed and passed their post-certification training it'll be 2 weeks ago. It was a 2-week training. The other one will be finished on the 18th. One was out because of injuries, but the horses are doing well. So
I heard you had a little rodeo over Dolores one day over a statue there.
yeah, no kidding. Well, so they worked on that well. It's starting
they
to,
said they
you
spent
know,
quite a bit of time making
it was a statue in front of the Pony Express.
yeah.
That horse statue there.
Yeah.
And
Couple
from
of those Mustangs didn't like it a bit,
that.
man.
That statue.
Yeah.
From one
They thought there was another wild Mustang about to take over the ride there, man.
No, they did fine. They controlled it well, but the thing
Yeah.
is it was funny because people that we visited with about that, it looks like a horse, but it doesn't smell like a horse,
No,
and it doesn't act like a horse.
It's just
so
the image.
it's just different.
Yeah.
Well, one of them has an issue with
Whatever.
the handyman.
One of the Mustangs must have brought back some memories or something to that horse or something. Huh? Yeah.
So anyway, no.
They were out here one day and they were practicing going up and down the stairs and interacting with
No, it was something to do with that horse statue. That horse
Yeah.
statue lit
It was
two of
strange.
them up. Yeah.
So the names were officially picked from the elementary kids in the county. The name selected was Rebel and Cody and Charlie. So right after school starts, we'll be going to those schools that those kids had selected those names, and they'll have pictures taken of them with the horse and the whole bit. So it'll be kind of a neat thing. Just to give you kind of an update of what happened in the month of June. We had 270 municipal city of Cortez arrests. That's the figures that will be billed out for the month of June. Department of Corrections 17. Remember that that fee goes up to 62 something. Started actually July 1st is when it starts. So this is the June month. So we're sending a bill to DOC for the $911.88, as well as the parole holds for $3,057.48. Dolores County, we had several inmates, total of 99 days. That's close to $5,000 that will be billed. Dolores actually had one for one day, so there's $50. So that's the total amount of monies. There's here's our
Steve, just before we get off that, will this change in your daily dollar amounts to hold it? Will that go
for
through?
DOC.
Is that just for DOC, or will you change your rates for the city of Cortez, Dolores County?
Haven't yet. We're still trying to discuss that because of the issues that we talked about before. If we increase high enough, there needs to be an increase. There's no doubt about it. It just has to be something that needs to be worked out.
I just don't understand how we
those-
can charge the state more than we charge. I mean, there's a cost involved, and
Well, I
why is
mean,
it
we've
fair
already
to
know that our
charge?
costs are more than what our fees are.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not
Okay.
objecting to us charging the state $60-something. I just don't understand why they're not upset and why they think they're being treated fairly when we're charging Cortez.
Number one, we don't set the fees for the state. The state legislature sets the fees for DOC fees. That's where that comes from, and that's why they need to pay more because of our costs in all the county jails in the state, which is why I'm going to testify before them to let them know what our costs are and how much we're not getting paid for housing their inmates, and that's the whole point. They are in there more, mainly because DOC drags their feet about placing them, and so they're placed and held in our jail until there's a room or a bed that in a cell that's available for them in one of the prisons that they're being sent to, and so they drag their feet quite a bit, and it's cheaper for them. It's cheaper for the state. It really is. So, but it's at our taxpayer dollars.
I was going to say, it's costing us money, and I think that would hold true for the city of Cortez, the town of Dolores, and the town of anybody else. If that $50 a day is not recouping our cost to house that prisoner, no matter whether they're DOC or where they're from,
sure,
then I think we've got to start looking at making those adjustments to what it does cost us to house their prisoners.
You're absolutely right. We do need to bring those costs up so they can start paying.
Have you got a cost per day for a prisoner at your facility?
Yeah, I presented that to you several months ago. What our costs were per day.
And it's more than
more than any of them are paying.
right. I just don't understand how we cannot charge Cortez at least that much when we're charging them already.
Just like the same number all the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
At a
make it a
minimum.
total fee all the way across the board.
Yeah.
I think there'd be an issue if you requested a fee that was more than what the state was paying, though. I think that would be an issue, even though none of it's going to be exactly where it needs to be. I can tell you that right now. Mainly because the costs are going up. They are. Utility costs continue to increase.
Yeah, food,
Everything. So those are something that we're definitely going to deal with and approach. Probably by September, we should have something to you so that you can take a look at it and give me a nod or a nay. Okay. The next part is the monies that were paid into the general fund through the sheriff's fees that were collected. And our reimbursements that we got from Post for our training and whatnot. That is, this is additional cost that Post is paying for. So this is money from the state that we're getting. It goes into our training and goes into our training dollars, so it helps. Let's see.
Steve, with the opening of the new court, is your officers on duty for security at the courts going to be reduced?
No, they're going to have to be increased, the number
Really?
of officers. Yes, sir.
Why is that? Because I thought we had one
We only have
one
4.
entrance, one security check for all the courts, where now you're scattered. Why is it going to increase?
Because your space is up and you have 4 courtrooms there.
But you only have one security entrance point, don't you?
Yeah. So you have a security entrance, which is the main entrance.
Yeah.
You have the monitors that have to be monitored throughout the building the entire time. That's in a separate location. That leaves 1 to cover 4 courtrooms plus the intakes of inmates coming in and out. The only way that we'll be able to do it is if we can actually get the video conferencing up and running, which is what we're working on to help on those transports, taking them in and out of that facility. Yeah.
So currently you have people stationed here and
County court, there's 2 in county court,
and then
2
you
in
have
district court.
the people that bring the prisoners back and forth.
Yeah. So we're going to try and do it with 4. Can't reduce it. There's not enough. There's not enough security there. Not at all. With it, you're taking what the numbers that we have from the county court 5 days a week and the district court 5 days a week, and you're putting all those people in one place. Okay.
Yeah.
Putting all those people in one place.
Is that normal to have the security, the surveillance monitors in a different location than the front door? I mean, like that is?
Like it is right now. Yeah, that's where it is right now. The problem is that when you're monitoring that, that's somebody that has to be there the entire time from 8 to 5, or even longer if there are jury trials that are extended. So it's longer. You got to have somebody at those monitors to monitor all of those rooms and hallways throughout that building the entire time.
What kind of money do we get from the state for that? We get some grant, don't we?
2. They pay for 2 courtroom security deputies, and we pay for 2. And I've talked with
this court. Do you have monitors in this courtroom?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, sure do. I've talked with Eric and Eric Hogue and whatnot. They know that I'm going to be asking for more, like that should be paid for out of the state to help us with this.
Out of the state.
Yeah. It should. It should.
Better be.
I mean,
I've asked for the last 2 years and I
they're
get
not
no
gonna
more.
get it.
You know, I asked for the last 2 years and I get no more.
Well, then guess what? They may get less.
Well, there's a statute that we have to argue about then. It's not up to me. All I got to do is take care of the security out of it. That's the issue. And if we don't have enough, then that's the problem. It will help. So that means that those 4 people have to be there 5 days a week. How do I return holiday time? 1 day a month. Vacation, sick time. If there's any family medical leave that's required, how do you cover that? Those are the issues that I'm dealing with the limited numbers of resources. And those are the issues that we tackle all the time. So those are things that just because there's a new building doesn't mean that your resources go down. That's the total amount of fees that were returned to the sheriff's fees, to the county treasurer. This is what, again, expenses for the total number of inmates for the month per day. You can see City of Cortez, 43 inmates were held. That's $13,500. There was 270 total for the year. 2,383 on state charges or county ordinance charges. There hasn't been any ordinance arrests this month. DOC prisoners, total of $17,911.88, and the parole is more. This is one of the issues that all sheriffs have with parole holds and parole violators. They violate parole, they're picked up, they're incarcerated, and they're held for several days, and they're released back into the community. They re-violate and come back, and it's just a constant revolving door. And that we're having issues with parole. Parole has apparently has a staffing void or vacancies that haven't been filled, which are issues. We only have one over here right now. There's supposed to be, there was 4. Now there's 1 parole officer. There's supposed to be a second coming. These are issues that our parole board needs to deal with as well.
Yeah, isn't there something, like if you violate parole, you should go back?
There you go. Back to your
there you
prison
go.
to fulfill your sentence.
Exactly.
But that's not happening.
It's not happening.
So how's that a problem? I don't understand what
Because
that issue
we're
is.
paying, we're having to house them,
Didn't they
even
pay
though
us
that we're
for it?
billing. Yeah, even though we're billing them, it's still not enough. Okay, because they're constantly coming in and out. We're taking up our bed space. We have anywhere from 95. At this week, we had several days of 105 inmates over our max. Oh yes, that's up there.
One thing that I don't know logistically how this works, but I'd maybe talk to the DAs too about if there is a parole hold, we want to be billing the state for it.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
don't also have a hold, because I don't know if we're allowed to bill the state for it if they've got both a state a parole hold and a new violation. Are we still billing
Oh
the
yes,
state?
if it's a parole violation, we bill.
I mean, if somebody's got a $5,000 bond because they did a DUI, and that's the allegation for the parole violation, we're not really holding them for the state, we're holding them for us too, because
Well, it's
they
both.
didn't post their $5,000 bond.
Yeah.
If we can bill the state, I think that's great. I don't
Mhm.
think that we should
And
be
that's what
holding
we've
them.
been
We should
doing.
make the state's holding them.
That's what we've been doing,
Okay.
is billing the state. You bet.
Right.
Yeah, there's no freeze.
Yeah.
There's no freebies. Okay.
You say they're held for a few days and then turn loose.
Mm-hmm.
Are they not supposed to finish out the sentence that they were originally?
It depends. I mean,
It
I don't
depends.
think it's that clear. I mean, if somebody allegedly violates parole, it's up to the parole officer whether or not they're going to put a hold on them. If it's a stupid violation, let's say, and I shouldn't say anything stupid, but let's say they were caught driving, with expired plates or something like that, so they're taken into custody. The parole officer might say, you know what, we don't want to hold them for that. We're not going to violate them and send them back to prison for that. They can if they want to, but they won't necessarily. If they allege a parole violation, then the person's entitled to a hearing. They're going to be holding them there, probably for at least a month or so. And often they're being held also on their local charges. So until their local charge gets figured out, then they're being held anyway. But if, for example, the state court didn't put a hold on them, if Judge Lawrence didn't say, I'm going to make this a jailable offense, then they're released on our charge. Parole might say, we don't want them here either. This isn't serious enough for us to hold them. So I'm thinking that's kind of
If
what's
it's a traffic violation, generally they don't.
But yes, sometimes they're held and then they're either sentenced on their new case, or it's not always a new charge of what the parole violation is, but often then they'll go back to DOC from there.
Yeah, if they're felony charges that are filed here, they're held in the jail under the state charges that we have to pay. We don't get recouped. It's not until after that disposition in that case that there's a hold, and once that happens, then that's when their clock starts. Okay.
So, whatever brought about the violation, that comes first.
Yep. Yeah. And if
Then
they're
they deal with
sentenced
the
to DOC
violation.
again on that current charge that they were convicted of or pled to, then that's a state charge. The state has to pay that. DOC does. And so it's all in timing and what happens with these people. And every one of them is different. Oh my God. And it's in and out all the time. Yep. I don't have an answer to that. I don't think any of us do. Okay? So.
Well, I think the best answer is we figure it, we charge them exactly what it costs us to hold them, and we make money off them. That's what I think the logical answer is. You charge everybody the same thing. You charge them all $70 a day or
Yeah,
whatever it
whatever
costs.
it is.
And if they don't think that that's worthwhile, then don't send us your prisoners.
Yeah, and find some other place to house them.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, it will be.
I don't know that you can reject them. That'll be interesting.
Keep them in the squad car. House them there.
Well, we've got agreements to hold Dolores and Cortez and the state, but I don't know that I can't figure out why we're justifying charging them less than what we charge the state. I mean, at a minimum, we say, hey, look, the state changed their rates up to this finally. It's about time. Everybody is going to be paying that. I mean, I think we can justify charging more too, but maybe that's not fair. But it sounds fair to me if it's costing us more.
If the costs are there, I mean,
Well, the costs are higher than what the state's supposed to start paying, right? If I remember right, what you said.
We're talking thousands.
come up.
I mean,
Yeah,
this
we're-
is $3,000 a month from the Cortez more that they would be paying.
Right,
Then we're talking $24,000 a year that they're paying less than the state for. It just doesn't seem like that's helping us financially.
it's absolutely not.
Well, what's helping us financially with the city of Cortez is the dispatching fees too. They've come down. They've actually helped save us county dollars. They really have.
doing what?
Every year. By the reduction of the fees that are charged for dispatching fees. The bills that have come out the last 2 years have been about a $30,000 savings.
So is that cost savings on the dispatching system itself, or is some other entity absorbing that $30,000 benefit they're giving you? Is somebody else absorbing that?
Yeah, it goes right back into the county general fund.
No,
That's
no,
how
what I'm
it's
saying,
been, yeah.
how can they reduce what they're charging you, Steve, if their dispatch fees are X amount of dollars to run that dispatch center?
Yeah.
Is it just shifted
$700,000
to a
a year.
different fire department?
Yeah, are they shoving it?
They haven't. It's actually been the reporting periods that have actually been contained more and identifying exactly what the costs are, what our expenses are for that use. So
Okay.
that's helped. It's been record keeping, has actually helped that quite a bit, has reduced.
So
that.
they're not really giving you anything, their costs are, that's reflective of their costs have been reduced.
Yeah. And I
Well, we
just
can
don't
do
wanna
the same
see-
thing with the jail. If our costs get reduced, we can help. But if our cost per prisoner per day is $75 a day, and we're housing their prisoners for $50 a day, we're subsidizing their operation, the town's operation, which I don't think we're in the business of doing that.
Well, we are required to have a jail.
I understand that.
And that's part of it. I understand about a lot of them that come in are from municipal warrants, court warrants.
Okay.
That's the majority of what those arrests are, is municipal warrants. And so I don't want to get into a matching contest with them. I really don't. I don't think that it serves any of us to do that.
Well, what happens when that
to
jail
increase
finally deteriorates down to where it has to be rebuilt, and there isn't any money there to rebuild it?
Well, I think charging for inmates is not going to put money into a savings account to rebuild that jail.
But it's certainly going to keep us from having to put county tax dollars in it to operate it, maintain it, and upkeep it, and keep it going.
Yeah, that's our cost. There's no doubt about
Yeah.
it. It is.
Well,
And
we're
I'm not
asking
arguing
to make
with that,
money
yeah.
off of them.
I know that.
We're asking them to
just
pay,
to pay the fair share.
Pay what it
That's right.
costs us to take care of your prisoners.
Yep. Yep. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
No.
Okay. That I think we're all in agreeing with that. I agree.
Then I
completely.
think it's time to start moving in that direction.
Well, I think it comes from you as setting the sheriff's or the jail detention fees. So you certainly can. You certainly can do that. So whatever you want to put together as far as a resolution would be would be something that could happen, John.
Will you come with the new fees? When is that, in a month or so?
Yeah, I can bring, in fact, I might even be able to make them in August.
I mean, it's for you guys to decide. I agree, and I think that I mean, I don't know how we justify not charging at a minimum of the 60, whatever we're charging the state.
Yeah.
We can't justify that.
When home values and ag property have gone, I mean, we don't get to say.
Everything's going up. Everything's going up.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm going to pay that. No, I think it's only fiduciary sense from the county's perspective. Not, I mean, I think we're.
Oh, we're behind times. Those dollar amounts have been set a long time ago, and they've never changed. So there's no doubt about it.
You get us good hard cost figures.
I'll bring them back to you.
Is your trip to Denver to testify contingent on something?
No, not at all. Not contingent on anything. They're reintroducing some more bills to actually increase DOC prisoner costs fees to the county. Is what that's about. It didn't go up high enough.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, to go from whatever it went to maybe
Right.
more.
Right.
Well, so we probably need to know that before.
Yeah. And the other is the mental health issues. Now, we had two bills that were signed into law in May that are actually going to help our community. The first one was what I did when I took office is that our detention center is not going to house mental health patients.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody that's on an M1 hold isn't incarcerated, period. That's now law. So that argument's over with Access and everybody else. We won't take them in. It's not an approved facility. Our staff is not trained for mental health issues, and it opens us up to too much liability and exasperates the problem with the individual that needs medical attention, not jail. So
I heard you discuss this the other day, but I wasn't sure. Is Access responding to this like they should?
Oh yeah, they are. We had a meeting set up for tomorrow, but it looks like that'll be postponed until first part of August, so we can get everybody at the table to talk about their facilities that they have both here and in La Plata County to meet that new state law that requires that they come up with a location for mental health holds. Yeah. So.
Who on the board for the dispatch? Have you pursued that about setting up a meeting?
Were they supposed to receive some information, but I haven't done it yet.
I thought that was a month ago.
I know.
We need to contact him again because we're the board and we've never had a meeting. And
you need to.
Yes.
Yeah. So all I do is get the bill.
Some counties, it was telling us Weld County has one once a month.
That's what it should be. Yeah. But Weld County's a big. They have multiple dispatch areas, so it's different. Yeah. Let's see. What's the next page there? Let's see. So it's our felony crimes to date so far through the month of June, and that's in your sheriff's report. And you can see the explosion of sexual assaults that have gone up.
Yeah.
That's just 9 in this month, or for the year anyway. We've had 14 total.
That's ugly.
Yeah.
Here's our state prisoner arrests amounts, as well as municipal prisoner arrest amounts in total for the year through the month of June. Pay My Jailer, by the way, just to give you an update, is recovering money weekly for past bonding and booking fees that had not been collected. So we're making progress there. More money is going back in to the general fund, which where it belongs. That's what was due to the taxpayers. This is our daily totals for the month of June. Now, this is not the total number of arrests that have come through. We had 2,827 that came through. Not all of them stayed for a full day, but they were booked. 17,050 for the year so far from January 1 to the end of June. Yeah. Yes, sir. So, there you go.
So the numbers are good though. I mean, they're not crazy high as far as you've been averaging in the 70s.
Well, it's better than
and
5,000, that's for sure.
Well, as far as your average,
Your average daily number.
Yeah. That's your average
The
daily
jail
number.
capacity is what?
104.
104, so yeah, you're.
Yeah, it should be, I think. Yep. Okay. As far as the officer-involved shooting, I can't really say anything else other than the cases. The investigation has been completed on the criminal side. The internal investigation is in progress now. The criminal case will be sent to the district attorney for a final disposition after he's reviewed. So that should come this week. And if you'd like a briefing when that's all said and done, I'd be more than happy to do that for you.
So you'll know within a week whether they'll be off of
Right.
paid administrative leave?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's doing that, CBI?
The 22nd Judicial Shoot Team and CBI together. Yeah, criminal investigation is over with. It's going to be submitted. It's either tomorrow or more than likely, from what I understand, tomorrow to the DA's office.
All right.
Yep. Okay.
Commissioners, anything else for the sheriff? Thank you, Sheriff.
You bet.
Appreciate it. And at this time, the Board of Montezuma County Commissioners will adjourn for lunch.
But we're coming across plats that were in Fred Thomas's records that I think are very important to the public at large that were not recorded. And Gerald is wondering, when he talked to me, if when he discovers these plats, he could give them to Kim and put in to the records of the county. But Gerald says that they're not his plats. He's just discovering them. He's not sure he should be obligated to pay the $22 plat.
Actually, it's like $34 flat by the time you do the MyVAR. But I want to say that I'm embarrassed about this now because I'm not really a cheapskate, but over the years I've paid hundreds of dollars to file these plats for Fred for the public's benefit. I do know in the courthouse there is a sector of unrecorded plats. I somehow, when I got this in my mind to approach Ernie about it, I was trying to figure some way that those could get into the unrecorded plat area. It's probably better just to file the things. Sometimes, under the circumstances, I can charge my client that cost because it benefits their survey. But more times than not, the plats get filed and I pay for it, and anyway, I could have gone on a nice vacation for the amount that I've spent over the years. So one day it got to me, and so I talked to Ernie about it, and here we are.
How many do you think there is?
Have no idea.
But there's a...
Is there a reason Fred didn't file them?
What?
I'm going to say with all of us, me included, Gerald, that your survey plats have to be filed within a year after you do the survey. And I know myself, I don't file them exactly when I get paid for it because many times the client will come in and amend the plat.
And I hate to have plats file on top of themselves. So I don't file them often for 6 months. And sometimes they just slip through the cracks and don't get filed.
Well, the fact of the matter is, adherence to the law has increased as the land has grown in value. People are more suit happy than ever before, and I think that surveyors pretty much follow the letter of the law now. While back 30 and 40 years ago, it wasn't that way.
Have you looked through these plats to see if there's any pertinency to, are they pertinent to today? If they've been
It would be too much to thumb through there. Well, yeah, when one comes up and I say, okay, this needs to become a record, but for various reasons, and sometimes I give them to Ernie and he looks at them and we decide, okay, this needs to be of record, and like I said, I'm embarrassed that I was haggling around over $35, but
when I discover plats, and it's not uncommon for me to come up with these plats that show information that should be in the public records. And I take the plat and create a Mylar of it and just put a border on it and saying, I'm recording it on this date for public information. But it was done by Fred Reed, Fred Thomas, Dick Clark, Wayne Lee, whoever. But these plats have information that should be available to the public.
And there are certain surveyors that just totally didn't follow the law, and it impacts people and adjacent landowners and potential lawsuits, and they probably should all get filed. But I thought you were asking, have I sat down and gone through Fred's records, which is thousands of surveys, and weeded them out? No, I haven't.
No, and you don't do it until
it comes up.
I start working on a project when I discover the map, and then is when you need to file.
So I think what you guys are asking is if we would
waive the
fees. Kim, that goes through your department.
So as far as our fees, the county fees would be easily enough waived, but the state collects fees on that as well, and they keep track of that. So if we could waive our county fees, but then we would have to come up with the $2 or the $3 surcharge that the state charges us on the tech fund to cover these as far as a recorded document.
Well, it's already costing us the cost of the Mylar and often a print, which is up in the $10 or $12 category. But, there is a difference between $34 and $12. And again, I'm kind of embarrassed about this, but here we are.
Yeah, but if you're talking $12 for 1,000 documents, that's pretty expensive.
Right.
Well, there's not 1,000 of them.
I don't know.
And this would be strictly to Fred Thomas's stuff, file.
Or Wayne Lee, other people that hadn't adhered to the law. There's a good percentage of the time that we can charge this off to the job without feeling bad about it. But there's other times where there's nobody to pay for it but the surveyor that ended up with the plat. And
How would we recognize those specific plats, though? How would we, in our office, identify those?
Just by the testimony of Gerald or whoever records them. Because I would want to file it, and it wouldn't be my plat, and it wouldn't be a record.
And you can look at the date of it, because none of these are going to be recent. Well, hopefully not.
Except for that one? Oh.
No, there's
Except for the one I forgot to do 6 months ago.
No, there's a surveyor practiced here for several years and since has relocated to southern New Mexico. And he has, I find his plats that clients give me a copy of that are unrecorded. And these are only 5 years, 10 years old. But he is no longer in business in this area. And so sometimes these plats, if I find him, like I say, in the times past, Gerald and I have just done it at our cost.
And it does mount up. I mean, what the heck? So.
Well, it seems like we could probably, if Kim's in agreement with this, waive the county fees, but somebody's going to have to be responsible for the state fees, not us.
Well, we're volunteering to pay the Mylar, which is 6 times the state fee.
Yeah.
So I guess.
Well, and then we have per document, we have a $2 additional tech fund fee that they just put in as of the first of the year. That's why everything went up those $2. So I don't know if that could be included in whatever they're willing, you know, maybe that could be our recording fee for that, or, you know, I don't know. If that's what you guys want to do, or
What is the total fee now?
tech fee. It's the tech fund fee. That's what the state is trying to produce enough funds so that they can replace the recording throughout the state. They're trying to replace the whole program throughout the state. And they're trying to develop like a bank account or a savings account. And that's what they've done to do that.
And how long, I mean, so when this would take place is when you guys find one?
Well, this would only be, you're not gonna do this wholesale.
No.
Only as issues come up or.
Right, and I don't, myself, it's not more than once or twice a year that I've recorded a plat that I think should be in public records.
And mine's probably 4 or 5 times that. I get calls pretty much at least weekly about, okay, Fred Thomas did this, and we hear you've got his records. Can you research this for me?
Mm-hmm.
So I have to go out and pour through his records and find it. And then I don't mind doing that. I mean, the simple fact we've got a license, we owe something to the public. But
Did you end up with his records whenever he quit?
Pardon me?
Did you end up with Fred's records when he,
Yeah.
or when his daughter quit anyway?
Well, if you remember, he was getting ready to have hip surgery, and I was helping him clean up some stuff, and the next thing you know, he's dead. And so I ended up with him, and I had room for him in this shed I have, or a building I have, so they're there, and Ernie and I use them. There's no doubt, and I'm glad we've got them.
So, Commissioners, how do you feel about this?
I think if it's on an at-need basis or whenever you have an occasion arise that you have to use one of these surveys of Fred's, that there's going to be some kind of a deal come up where what prompts these, is there not? Something, a land transaction or a new survey on somebody else's property or some...
Not necessarily.
For me, what comes up is when there is information on a plat, one of the plats that's not recorded, that I want to make reference to in a survey I've done as testimony to previous happenings. Then I want to record that map, so in my map I can refer to this recording
But you're doing a map or a survey for
a
some
separate
other party.
Right, a separate map, but I want to refer to that map of Fred's.
Yeah.
So there'd be Fred's map, and then I would record after that, referring to that map.
Which I did just recently. And you guys signed the end result, or discussed the end results of it. The plat wasn't filed, so the first thing I did is beat it in there and file the plat so I could put it on my plat, say, hey, see this plat, and then you'll understand what's going on with respect to the adjacent parcel. But I got to charge somebody for that.
Yeah. I was going to say, wouldn't there be a way for the customer that you're doing that prompts the usage of one of Fred's unrecorded maps or plats? Say, Mr. Jones, I'm in the process of platting out your piece of property here, but I need a reference of another plat that's not recorded.
Yes.
Maybe that's a way to pass on that to the person.
Well, we try to, and obviously we want the county to get their money, but there's also times a person will come to me and say, I heard that perhaps you have a survey of my property, and I pull that thing out, and yep, I've got it, and that's all they wanted. And I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of embarrassed about this whole deal now anyway.
I just can't help but think that that would be a good thing for us to have those records. I mean, because you never know when we might need reference back to them, like we had recently found out with the Dolores Norwood Road. Or,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
They can be a benefit to.
But I want to say I'd be encouraged to take these maps and make them a public record. If they could be in my file and I see it and I get the information from it, but if I don't refer to it in the map, then that surveyor may not record the map. But the information is still relevant to the public.
I mean, obviously, anything that references a survey could impact numerous people down the road.
Oh, yeah. Would you be willing to forgo the county fee, Commissioner Lambert?
Yeah, I wouldn't have any problem with the county fee. I don't know what you do about the state fee. You're talking about totaling $4 or $5?
It's $2 per document. So there, I think our plat fees went up to like $13 or something like that is what our...
Right. 13 and 23, depending on what you file.
Right.
Yes.
And so it used to be $1 of that went to this tech fund, and now $3. 2 of it goes to the state, and then we get to keep 1 here in the county. So you'd be giving up that 1 plus the $10 recording fee as far as income to the county, but then you would also have the $2 that we'd have. We'd still have to pay that to the state.
It's not going to break either one of us
That's
up
right.
if you choose not to do this. I did it, and I suggested this to Ernie in a moment of somewhat anger, so anyway.
But, I mean, $2, if you're talking about 2 documents a year at $2,
Right.
you
It's
know,
no big
that's-
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause many of the documents that you present to me to record, I don't charge the commissioners for either.
Mhm.
But then do you pass along the $2 fee to the,
I do just pay the state the $2 fee.
so your office bears that?
Covers it.
What if we kind of just left it up to the discrepancy in the current clerk and recorder?
Yeah, I think that's more your bailiwick.
You all right with that, Commissioner Lambert?
Yeah. If Kim's comfortable with
You call it as you see it.
And if you have any problems, you can come back and let us know what we need to do.
I'm just, I mean, if we just kind of kept a tally in a year, you know, so it was $20 or $50 or $2,000, I mean, there's
It's
a
not
point where it
gonna-
becomes relevant at some point in time, you know, but
At
it'll
the most,
pretty
it'll be in the
much-
hundreds.
So,
And obviously, I guess we're volunteering to pay the Mylar
Yeah.
fee and the state fee, so.
All right with that?
Works good with you?
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Okay, we didn't get to our broadband discussion at 10:45, so we're going to take that issue, or that agenda item up right now. I guess we could go by what you commissioners heard on in Connect 4. And I think that came up with about making a decision about database,
data safe.
or data safe.
In effect, we got 2 companies, but that basically want to do the same thing. Or at least that's the way I'm looking at it. I think DataSafe actually wants to eventually own the thing. And they indicated that they're willing to buy and own the what I call the inside stuff, the servers and all of this that is necessary that you'll find in the office or in the whatever, like Cortez got out here to their industrial park. They're willing to buy that, and they're willing to pay for half of I say they're willing, I probably am jumping ahead. We discussed this, and they were favorable toward the idea. I don't want to speak for them. I tried to call David Fraley this week, and he's apparently out of town because I haven't been able to get a hold of him. I think he's basically the main money power.
Resonating mainly.
Yeah. And I think the discussion that Keenan and I've been having is I'm in agreement with Keenan, except that I think it has to be done at one time. I mean, a major part of the thing has to be done at one time, or it'll never get done. For several reasons. One, like we was talking at noon, if you don't aggregate everything together, the rate that you'd have to charge the customer is going to be out of sight. And I just think that we're going to have to do it all as much at once as we can to make a halfway decent rate to the customer. But at the same time, nobody knows what that's going to be until there's an engineering, until the job is engineered with the idea of doing it with a hybrid system. In other words, some conduit buried and some wireless. The majority of it, I think, is going to have to be wireless, but these towers don't come cheap. You have to put up a tower, or you have to rent a tower, and these aren't cheap. So I don't know, but as I say, nobody would know. Nobody's going to know what the whole thing would be until that's done, and then it may be the best guess after that. But and DataSafe indicated that they would split the cost of the engineering with us to do the whole thing. I'm not putting down the. I never can remember how you say that.
Zuma Company or Zuma Corporation. Yeah.
I'm not putting them down at all.
Right.
But I'm just pretty sure the way Warren talked at the meeting the other day that they're thinking the same thing DataSafe is thinking, that they need money.
Yeah, I was not in the meetings with DataSafe, but I was in the meeting with Connect 4 last Thursday, and there's a company called Zuma. I'm not sure the complete Zuma company or Zuma that has already wirelessly connected several different residences, different places in the county, and is providing 25 megabyte service to a private residence and doing it fine, and is very interested in wanting to take on this scope of the entire county. And we're going to have a meeting with him and maybe DataSafe as well, I think on the 20th of this month. Is that right? Yes, Thursday the 20th? To get a little bit more insight into what this company can do, is willing to do, and I think James is probably right in saying that whatever company, whether it be DataSafe or Zuma or whomever, is probably going to be looking for some at least help with infrastructure and fiber optic help to towers and whatever. But my excitement with all of this is that I'm excited about seeing private industry take on this rather than government. I know it's probably going to be a partnership of some sort or some kind of an assistance program, but I would like to keep our government's involvement in it as minimal as we can as far as how much we're willing to commit to this. But I think as time goes on, and this is such an evolving industry. It evolves so fast, and changes are so rapid and sometimes very large changes in how this service is going to be delivered. I want to keep the county's exposure, our dollar exposure, as minimal as we possibly can, especially since we don't have a sales tax, we don't have anything designated in our budgets for it or any of that. So I think we're in the right process. I think we're heading down the right direction to find a solution to getting at least 25 megabyte delivery to most of our county, if not all of our county residents, to have that option to be able to purchase it. And James, I'm like you, it probably is going to be expensive. I think it will definitely be expensive to buy. I think your home businesses are going to be a lot more readily acceptable of higher rates on, especially if you start buying that higher end of the megabyte spectrum, start buying the higher end of it. But I'm just always a little bit reticent to commit to stuff that can, in 6 months or a year, they can say, you know what, what you've done here is nice, but it's
Let me
old technology.
give you an example. I agree that the technology is changing all the time, but farmers have been serving openly by a phone service for the last, 20 years or so. Mm-hmm. And it's all been by radio. And that, I think it was just last year that we had to make a change in the radio, not because the radio quit, but because the company that made the radio quit making parts for it.
Quit manufacturing stuff for it, yes.
But as I say, I don't know the exact time, but it's been close to 20 years at least that they've been doing this. So even though, basically what I'm saying is that even though you're getting a pretty rapid change technologically, that doesn't mean that what you have today isn't going to work for some time to come.
That's true.
But when it does, then when you replace it with the new technology, you're gradually improving your system or keeping it close to up to date. The phone companies have gone to what they call, or most of them have gone to what they call a soft switch now. Used to, they had racks and racks and racks of, I don't even know what you call them, but everybody's telephone, you had to have one of these discs or whatever you would call it for all the telephones. That's not the case anymore. Everything is on a computer. But those computers run about, well, last time farmers bought one, it was a little over $100,000. But again, that's been quite a number of years ago that this was the newest thing going at that time. There's been improvement since, but you can improve the system if you need to as you go along, and I think you'll find the same thing.
Yeah.
With
What
this.
you install can evolve and change and do different stuff. Yeah.
So the change in technology doesn't worry me as much as some of the other things that are going to be involved in it.
And just an update, I had the Oregon Commissioner called and said that all the players are finally lined up and that we should know within less than a week when we can have that discussion. And I think that discussion will tie right into this. So, I think
It's a
All the
process.
players for what are lined up?
for the
The people in Oregon that are going to give us a presentation on how they implemented and distributed their broadband in a county in Oregon.
Oh, they're gonna come here and
No,
Gonna
we're
be a
gonna do a
phone.
big, we're gonna do a phone conference with the high school, the cities, and the commissioners.
What county was it in Oregon again, where Bend is?
No, it was, it's on my phone.
I made that up.
Huh?
I made that.
I made that up. I don't think you ever said Bend County, where Bend is. Outside of,
Yamhill.
is that outside of Portland? Is it near, or is it
Yamhill
rural
County.
county?
It's close to Portland.
Yeah, just south of Portland.
Never been there, so I don't know.
Me neither.
Yeah, okay, just asking.
Okay. Well, then we'll move right along to the lawyer's report, to the attorney's report.
So the Board of Assessment Appeals contacted me last week and said that if we're going to have hearings on 2009, 2010 Kinder Morgan issues, they're going to set those likely in February. We'll find out yet when that happens. I'm going to meet with Leslie tomorrow, actually, just to kind of help, I think, give her clarity and guide her on any issues that are coming up at the assessor's office with Leslie Bug, our new assessor. I think we brought this up a while ago. Bonnie from Weeds wanted to put her horse cart on the fairgrounds.
Mhm.
So I did an agreement with her that she actually just emailed me back today, but I wanted to run it by Tanner first to see if he was okay with it. Basically just to let her keep it there and indemnify us, release us of liability if there's ever any vandalism or any damage to her horse. So I'll tell you when I'm gonna foreclose to finalizing that. Maybe it'll be next week. I can ask if you're okay with it. And that was actually kind of in conjunction with someone. So that was kind of her personal request. Also, I did some contracts for her to allow people to lease backpack sprayers.
Mhm.
From the county?
Yes, to do their own spraying. They are getting, I guess,
Volunteers, I think. Is that what you're talking about, or something different?
not just volunteers, but I think if people want to
Do it yourself.
yeah, do it themselves. If they need to get chemicals from us, Bonnie gives them a backpack to spray, and so we just did some agreements for them to again just release us the liability for giving them backpacks to use to spray weeds with. I think that's it. Other than the new addendum language for Monty Gauze's contract. I don't know if you want to just get a chance to look at the language. I was just suggesting a real short addendum to it. If you want to look at that, then maybe we can talk about it next week if you want to, unless you already have looked at it and you guys want to just...
Yeah. Have you sent it?
I sent it Wednesday of last
What
week.
section is that in, John, in that proposal for, I've just got the request for proposal for RFP for the owner's rep. Is it in that document? Combined, dated December of 2015?
You're talking about the yes.
Okay.
That attachment?
What? Yeah.
Let me see what you're looking at.
It's with your letter?
Okay, yes. And so at the bottom of that,
Mm-hmm.
I was just showing you what was already agreed
Already,
to.
yeah.
This in here shows, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
shows everything that was already agreed to.
Agreed to, okay.
Mhm.
And then your addendum is,
And he already agreed to all this stuff,
Mhm.
which is post certificate of occupancy. The
okay.
addendum language was actually just in the email that I sent. This is the email I sent you, and this was the short addendum language that I was talking about.
Oh, right here, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
You might show James where it's at the very front, James. I read it and I'm good with it.
Yeah, I think Yep.
So
And
what kind of?
I like you referenced that 2.2B in that original contract, that all those things will be carried out.
Right. We didn't discuss that last week,
Yeah.
but I figured that was important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what kind of things are
Hey, you know what?
putting in?
So, go ahead, I'm sorry, I'll help James, because he can't find it.
What was discussed last week was the commissioners voted 2-1, I think, to add another $10,000 to the original agreement. It was originally $135,000, but to add another $10,000 for work done between July 15th and when we get the certificate of occupancy.
No, I can't.
Can't find it.
Can I?
Here, yeah, sure, show it to you. It's right there.
It's what's in the block right there. He wanted it, well, he wanted more than that. This was negotiated down, or he said he was going to sue us for $36,000.
I'm good with that.
Go ahead. And I think all three commissioners will go with that. All right, that would take us down to natural resources. Is James, do you have anything, or?
I have no idea.
Can I ask a question for clarification, John, what you're going to help Leslie with? You said had to do with...
So I think she wanted to, I don't know for sure actually, but she asked to meet with me, and then I didn't hook up with her last week because I think she was on vacation, so we scheduled it for tomorrow, and I think it's just to talk about all the, I guess everything that's going on, that she's trying to just figure out right now. I don't know exactly, I mean, all the new valuations and Kinder Morgan and some other things, I'm not sure exactly what we're meeting about. I'm gonna kind of just try to answer questions that she has and help figure out answers for questions that she has.
She did contact the state, and the state has sent someone down, I believe it's Wednesday and Thursday, to look at the system and say, is there values, good, bad, that has used the Tyler software that we just got through to get her familiar with the ins and outs of how that works. So that's a really nice thing that the state's sending someone down. I think we have to pay for their airfare and per diem, so it'll be $300 or $400 to help her get running 100% on her feet. So.
Well, maybe we can go to administrator report while we're waiting on James.
I do have some information. I have been given the name of the new Ken Charles DOLA representative.
They picked him.
I'm going to slaughter his name. Patrick Rondinelli will be our new regional DOLA rep, and he comes from, he's the current Uray town administrator. So probably in the next 30 to 45 days, probably work from Uray. I don't know if he's going to move. I mean, it's all just so brand new. But I had to say Rondinelli.
Rondinelli.
So it's the last name Rondinelli, but I messed it up.
Is it Patrick or is it Ron?
Patrick Rondinelli.
Rondinelli is his
Italian
last name.
Rondinelli.
I have to say it sound it out so that I don't slaughter it. So, and I don't know when he's actually going to be on board. But, the other thing, I won't be here next Monday, I don't believe. Be in Denver watching my son play baseball. I'm hoping.
We'll have you call in and give us a report.
Maybe. I can't remember that number.
We'll call you. Don't call us, we'll call you.
Let me see what else did I call. So, But I'll have all the agenda ready. I do know that Chris Majors plans to be here in the afternoon to
Present the
present
audit.
the 2016 audit. So.
Melissa, I'm looking at my calendar. It was August 14th is the day I'm not going to be here
Okay.
for vacation.
And I will be here the 24th.
July 24th. Okay. So, other than that, do you have anything?
Okay, James, come on up.
Well, afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon, James. How are you?
Doing good.
Good. Good.
How's your vacation and family?
Well, the family vacation didn't turn out real good. My dad kind of got sick.
Oh.
So anyway, we had some problems there, but other than that, we made the best of it, and so he did get to see his new great grandbaby. So that was the main thing he was really excited about. So. Okay, so I got a call from Kinder Morgan from Andy Wygant, and he was requesting that we send the letter that we gave to Scott Tipton's office on to Washington. He would like us to basically send that on up to Department of the Interior. So we didn't actually sign that letter that we gave to Scott Tipton. So if we want to send this on up to Department of the Interior, maybe we ought to probably sign the letter. And I've got a copy of it. If we would like to consider doing that, then that's what we gave to Scott Tipton.
Mm-hmm.
Did you send it electronically? James?
No, I did not.
The one to Tipton?
No.
But you didn't sign it?
No.
It was all of our concerns about on the monument.
Right. Yeah.
Not signed.
Okay.
Thanks, Lee.
And so we'll send this on to the acting director.
Mr. Ned?
Yes, Mr. Ned. Searching for his first name, and I can't think of it. Mike. Okay. And then we also got a letter in response from the U.S. Forest Service regarding sage hen. Area. Thank you, Tim. The letter that we got, so Scott Tipton's office basically put in a request to advance the archaeological surveys up there at Sage Hen, and so the response that they gave us was basically that no, we don't want to do that. Aquatic nuisance is now a consideration. Kind of reiterated all the issues that they've had with overnight camping and everything up there. They've said that they've offered us an agreement to go into co-management of that area with the Forest Service, and they say in here it may not allow for overnight camping, but we could enter into that agreement. So I'll let the commissioners look at that letter. I don't know if we need to make some kind of response to that right away. But in terms of trying to get anything happening down at Sage Hen, the Forest Service is really not giving us any signals that they're really willing to work with us on anything.
So this is from the Forest Service.
I should have a copy there too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I got this letter from Scott Tipton's office. Darlene sent it to us. Yeah.
I would need a little time to read this. Is that okay with you, commissioners, to wait until next week and act on this?
Yeah, and I don't think I wasn't making any request for action. Yeah, I just got it in, so I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and we'll have to stew on this. It could have, some bearing on as we go through the whole process of trying to figure out how we get access back opened up down there. This will just be one more consideration, but I think we all knew ANS was a problem down there. So. Okay. let's see. Okay, I want to give you an update on Sand Canyon. So I've been working with the BLM on those parking lot plans. So they've circulated amongst themselves. They sent me back basically a list of revisions. They would like to move the restroom from one side of it to the other side to kind of avoid, the issue of it having become a rest stop versus a trailhead. And so to hide the restrooms a little bit, we can do that. I'll work with them on coming up with some new configurations. I've shown it to Rob. I think Rob is pretty comfortable with it. So as far as the title research goes, I've asked for an estimate from a title company. I had to take it to another title company because I got no response from the first one. So I took it over to Colorado Land and Title, and they said sometime this week they'll give us an estimate on that. I've got them looking at a problem on the trail project too. I'll talk about that here in a little bit. I don't think they're going to help us with that, but they will give us an estimate on tracking this all the way back to when it came out of whatever parcel it came out of initially. So, the question is who owns the right of way through there, and so that's what we'll try to get to.
And how big is that right of way?
Yeah. And I think the BLM is sending us signals that it sounds like they believe us that it's probably 120-foot right of way. They've redrawn it. Their cadastral surveyor has redrawn it, and it looks to be much closer to what that 100-foot right of way would be. So we feel good about it, but we still got to trace it out. So on the note of the trail, we're still trying to unravel that parcel down there that has the 12 individuals. And I think we're going to have to go individual by individual. I talked to a title company on that. They didn't really feel like they could do much more than what we've already uncovered. So that is going to be a holdup, that parcel, but we don't want to hold the project up. So we're looking at the next leg that looks like it's viable. So the next leg that looks viable is from the fairgrounds to the Mesa Verde entrance. And so what we're having is the consultant putting together some preliminary numbers. And the reason we want to kind of move pretty fast on this is I got a call from the state. They think that they've got some private donors that are willing to contribute towards trail construction. So we want to try to get into up to the feeding trough as fast as we possibly can on that. So we'll try to use those preliminary numbers and the fact that we think we've got a stretch of that trail that's going to be a go. We'll have to just keep working on that other part. And of course, some of this we may just wind up in right away. So, unless we can, I think the other thing about that parcel with the 12 landowners, we've made contact to them twice now, sent 2 certified letters and didn't get a response back from them. So I'm sort of thinking that maybe we ought to try to put together kind of a package of what the county can offer up. And, maybe some things that we could offer up is just helping them work through splitting that parcel or, cleaning that title up somehow. We could probably help them work through a PUD development for that parcel. Some things like that. But we're going to find some ways that we can kind of help.
Start getting at least some communication going on.
Yeah, are you sending it to the same place? I mean, with who pays the taxes or how?
Well, that's the complicated thing because the person that's paying the taxes hasn't got any claim to the parcel. So it's kind of a weird deal. And again, it's 12 people. Some of them were deceased. The person that we think is the point contact person on it is who we've been sending, the correspondence to.
Why do you think that the person? Why would they be paying it if they don't have any interest? Or do they buy the taxes?
No, we've investigated that too. It doesn't look like it went through a tax lien sale. So I don't know what their motivation would be for paying taxes for all those 12 people. It sounds like it's just kind of one of those funny family sort of deals where there's maybe family members that won't communicate with each other, and so probably a lot of drama associated with this parcel. And
how big a parcel is that?
Pretty big parcel, yeah. It's like it's not a 160. I believe it's a 40. Maybe it's an 80. Yeah. But yeah, it is it's substantial.
And is there roadblocks can't we go on either side of that parcel?
We're really trying to do that, and we've got one possibility to the south. We met with an individual who their father owns it, but he's deceased, so this is it's in the state's hands at this point. But we are talking with him. He thinks he's open to it. So there could possibly be another route around.
And the other question is if you get the money from the private donors for the trail construction, And can you take that money and go to a different section?
Well, it's just a good question. I mean, I just got off the phone with CDOT though, and they seem to feel like we've got a viable approach by taking one section at a time and tackling it that way.
I agree,
So-
but the only thing that I don't like is we're building a trail and we're starting in the middle.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely, yeah.
Instead of from Cortez to the fairgrounds first.
Yeah.
I mean, you think that people that are slam government now, wait until they're like, look at those idiots.
Built the middle mile, they don't have a beginning or an end, huh?
Well, it'll be something, we're going to have to evaluate that. If it's the stretch that's ready to go, then we'll have to make a decision on whether to, pull the trigger and then proceed and then try to hope that the momentum pulls the other parts.
Even
along.
that part will hopefully connect Philsborough, the fairgrounds, and an avenue to the park entrance anyway.
And we were looking at the map pretty hard today, and it does make a loop, actually, from the fairground. You got to get across the highway at the fairgrounds, but I think we got to do that regardless. But yeah, it would make a loop all the way to the Mesa Verde entrance, and then you can come back down the north side. And yeah, we've got a route we can thread the needle through there. It does. It's going to have to go through some right of way there.
But still,
But that's it does access some public lands, that whole chutes and ladder area on that north side too. So that's all good. But just that stretch from Cortez, the most important stretch is the one that's the hardest, of course.
Before we get too far, have we had any movement or any action on our Flume project? Were we committed to help them with their matching monies?
Yes. So what we've got is the contract has been signed from State Historical Fund, and so the last count that we had, the girls had that figure right all the way down to $4,700. So we did get, and I got to look at the numbers on that again. We did get commitment from the Utes. I want to make sure I'm not intermingling that. So they committed $3,500. So I think we're ready to just put that RFP out and try to get the work started. Okay, so moving on along, we've also got a request from Scott Tipton's office to talk to the commissioners about that concept of the land transfer down there at Yucca House. There's about 160 acres of land that's being considered by the National Park Service, and so they just want to know if we're supportive of that, and if we are supportive, they wanted a letter of support. So I think this is the one where
Lucky Pickens.
Yeah, Lucky Pickens' place, where the public drives up into pretty much his front yard, parks at his front door, and then walks out.
Right.
So the next door neighbor there, they've got that's 160 acres, and so they would like to sell that to the Park Service, and it would alleviate probably some of the invasion of privacy that landowners feel out there.
Also take a lot of their road out of the
would.
access to that Yucca House.
Yeah.
They built it because we talked about a parking lot there on that 160 where they come on and jog across, and having the Park Service then take care of their own parking and visitors and all that, and make a trail over there to it.
And it probably would help Drew's situation, Drew Gardner out, because I think he's got some inadvertent trespass happen. People just try to find that place, and kind of keep.
Trying to locate it,
Yeah, it's hard to find out there. So anyway, if the commissioners are supportive of that, I have got a letter that's been drafted up in support.
Isn't he giving it? Isn't he donating it? To the
It may be a donation.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was too. Is giving it to him.
Does it say that, or does it say sell?
I don't.
Just says land transfer.
Yeah, for this I just use land transfer, and I don't recall that the message that I got from Darlene Marcus said anything. Oh wait, here is the message. Let's see. In donating, it does say donating. Yeah.
Can I see the letter?
Oh yes, sorry, John.
If this transfer was to take place, that still wouldn't alleviate. I mean, is that a county road that goes by? I thought that was a county road that went by Drew's.
Yeah, it is.
It goes by Drew's.
Yeah, it goes up by Drew's.
To be able to do signage and make that access maybe more appropriate for that.
Yeah.
There's a gate now, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a gate at the end of that road where Drew's property stops.
But the county road goes beyond the gate.
Well, I don't recall. I would have to look at a map on that. Well, I know that there's been some talk about at least the county road right-of-way extending up there, but I'd have to look at a map. I can't recall that.
Down there with Rob one time, and I was thinking that he said that the county road extended on it.
Yeah, because I think
Baxter.
at one time we had discussed about making the access to Yuck House going up through this Carwick property going down. That's Road B, isn't it?
Oh, it sounds right, but I don't know.
Something like that. But anyway, extending it down and then making the access, but it'd have to be a road build and all kinds of stuff up from the south instead of going on to Kazee Ranch and doing it that way. But I think you're right. I think at least our right-of-way goes on beyond Drew's Gate.
Drew's Gate.
Yeah. Bernard Carwick. Carwick.
Why are we sending this executive? What's his interest?
I guess he would carry some legislation.
I think it has to be passed by the Congress before they can accept it into the park system. It has to be accepted by them.
I feel like it'd be good practice of us to actually also include or address it to the Colorado legislature, since they have to get the Board of Commissioners approval to
transfer
lose land from the county and give it to the feds, and nobody up there seems to know that law exists.
Yeah.
And we're giving permission here.
Yeah.
But,
So
maybe say, pursuant to this statute.
CRS, whatever that statute
you
is.
need our authority to do this, so we're expressly giving you our authority to do this.
Yeah.
Not that they would care or do anything with it, but maybe
But
start.
at least it'd be on record that they had one example of that, huh? Yeah.
But how can we do it if we made a law that no net
loss? Yeah, you guys.
It's taxable land, you guys.
Right,
have
it's
to
taxable
get-
land, but in that, you guys did say that, it was loose enough where you could, make a decision that it was somehow benefiting the county in other ways. It didn't have to be necessarily a dollar thing. And so, and if we do a letter like that, we might want to add some language of how the commissioners think that this is benefiting the county somehow.
Maybe we'll get the national park to donate us a piece of land over there on the 160 side to build the trail.
Exactly.
That's what I was going to say. Might be worthwhile checking with them to see what they have.
Mm-hmm. See if they wanted to negotiate a trade.
Yeah.
That might not be a bad idea.
So we better hold off on the letter.
Yeah.
Okay.
We talked to the district ranger, the park ranger, the park.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Spencer. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be a point of discussion.
Well, I could certainly try to set up, contact him and see if you'd like to come down and
discuss.
Okay.
May not be acre for acre, but at least.
Sure, but yeah, I mean, if there's anything we can get.
The county.
Sure. Okay.
Good idea.
But we'd take a 2-for-1 though, wouldn't we?
Yeah. We would do 2 for 1, yeah.
And we still wouldn't be close to being caught up.
No, I know there's no way.
Okay, I think that, one last thing, yes.
One more thing.
Yeah, so the Rico West Dolores, the Forest Service has decided to issue a supplement to their DEIS. And so there's a 45-day comment period, and it'll end about mid-August. I think it was the 14th, she said. So anyway, I just wanted to let commissioners know that that's come back, and they're asking for more comments. She said that we have standing on it, so even if we don't hit our 45-day comment period, that they take our comments for some reason anyway, so as they're supposed to. So, anyway, I don't know if any of the commissioners have heard anything on this. So, okay, I'll just go ahead and forward to you then what she sent me. It's a pretty substantial document, about 200 pages or so. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, unless we're hearing something from constituents, I don't know what there is within that document that we've got some more issues with. But if we do,
there's so much of that that's not in Montezuma County. I mean, the
A lot
vast
of it is.
majority
Yeah,
of
right.
that Rico West Dolores is not We just have a very, very small little portion on the bottom side of that. So,
Yeah.
I would think the Dolores County Commissioners, if anybody, would have more to
Probably
say about
so,
that than we
yeah.
do.
I mean, I think the only constituents that I've heard anything from, and they haven't contacted me about it this round, but the motorcycle riders. So they've lost a few trails, and so I would anticipate maybe hearing something from them, but so far I haven't.
Is that those single track that Casey McClellan's bunch?
Right. Yeah. So
All right.
anyway, I'll kind of stay in a holding pattern on that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thanks, James. Commissioners report. Commissioner Lambert?
Already had one on broadband. That's all I've had over the.
Yeah, that's the only thing I've been to in the last week. We've talked about that, so.
I found another email
Uh-oh.
from a gentleman that says that he was in contact with Commissioner Sukla about redesigning the Montezuma County website. Are we interested?
He was not in contact with me. He's a
No.
salesman, and take that thing and put it in your spam, because that's the only contact that man's ever made with me.
Oh, well.
Trying to sell you a little something, huh?
Yeah, so you throwing around names. So easy enough. Easy to do. Just thought I'd better ask.
All right. Sent me the same thing and I deleted
Which is okay. I can use
it. I don't ever remember talking to him. I don't think I've ever talked to the gentleman.
I
His contact was sending you the email.
Yeah, that was the contact he emailed you.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I was listening to him.
all right. Then we'll go to public comments. All right. Then we'll look for.
Nobody's coming up. Oh, Gayla almost made a move, I thought.
Oh, I was getting ready
Oh,
to
she-
write down adjourned and then.
Oh, my God. Okay. I move for adjournment.
I'll second.
Motion is second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All against? Motion carries.